welcome back to the party, everybody. This is Morty, and I am your host, Lush, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Everybody hit that like and subscribe. You know I would do it for you. And let's party! Welcome, welcome, welcome. Oh, it is gonna be a good one. So you may or may not be familiar with a friend of the channel, Devon, a gentleman who in the thumbnail here has been on this channel a number of times. Used to be in the Discord community with us and caused a lot of interesting conversations. Couldn't handle it though, and he left. We recently saw him and Rob Noerr on the Raging Tomato show. It was the panel show, and it went to one-on-one, and Rob just destroyed him. But I guess that wasn't enough, because here is Devon for more. I skipped a little bit of, obviously we can't cover the whole thing. I don't know why he decided to turn off his camera, but I bet you he's pretty glad he did. Let's dive right into it.
That story. You agree with that?
And the reason why I'm not certain with that is because when I do look into the Hunter Biden thing and them actually signing that letter, it seemed that there was reason to believe that the copy of the laptop wasn't holding accurate information. I don't even think the letter said specifically that the laptop itself was fake. I think it was about the information that was on it, which is valid because of the ties that they had pointed to with Ruby.
So basically what we skipped over is, them kind of rehashing what they were talking about on the Raging Tomato panel. And it was about Trump's character, the character traits of who he is. And, they kind of just rehashed that. And then they're getting into the laptop. Shout out to Ty Cobb. Welcome to the party. Very good to see you. Welcome. We've got our boy Devon, if you remember him. That's over here.
Giuliani and the Russian people.
Okay, so you acknowledge that the FBI knew that the laptop was accurate?
I acknowledge that they knew that the laptop existed.
Okay. So then what we would have to believe your position is, in one of the biggest coincidences of all time, people at the head of the FBI, that Chuck Schumer warned us would find 6 ways of Sunday getting back at Trump, that people like Peter Strzok talked about having an insurance policy to prevent Trump from winning, that people like James Comey have since came out and I think it's beyond dispute that they hated Trump. And this is 2020, so it's after the 2026 or 2016 election. What you would have me believe is no one at those agencies with security clearances, or more accurately, former people with those agencies with security clearance, not one of them called out, hey, this information about Trump seems like Russian disinformation with the whole Russia collusion shit. Not one person did it. Not one person went publicly and said, this sounds like Russian disinformation. And it turned out they were wrong. That actually was disinformation sourced by...
I'm trying to figure out what you just asked me. You're saying not...
He's asking you that in order for you to say that what went down with the Hunter Biden laptop story to be legitimate or not, a dissolution of duties, is for a whole bunch of coincidences to happen. I mean, you could think of the Epstein case. Like, you could believe that he ended himself, but there's a whole lot of coincidences you got to believe in order to think that.
I think it's...
Let me break it down to you. There was Russian disinformation that was a lie about Trump. That was the Igor Dashchenko's claims in the Christopher Steele dossier. The FBI bought it hook, line, and sinker and used it to spy on Trump's team illegally. No one said anything. But then there was accurate information in the form of the Hunter Biden laptop, and all of a sudden, the same people that were silent when there actually was Russian disinformation, somehow they didn't see it. They were duped again. This time they said, oh, this looks like Russian disinformation. And so the same guy that they wanted to win, it just so happened they were duped. They came out in support and said, this looks like Russian disinformation. Whoops, they were wrong again. Why did not one of those people speak up when there actually was Russian disinformation?
So basically, oh yeah, Russian disinformation. But when it comes to the everything that actually is disinformation, nothing. Ty said, I liked Sarah. I liked Sarah. Unfortunately, her mods are super kinky, so I no longer visit her channel. Well, that is why you don't give away the wrenches. You gotta earn them. But I am glad that you are here.
Okay, so that's another thing that I would just have to dig into, full transparency in terms of them speaking up, because I've done a lot of research on the actual Steele dossier and who should and should not be accountable and all that stuff, and why they decided to go with that information, and who knew that it was going to be in a dossier. In terms of the FBI knowing that this was false at a certain time, that's definitely something I have to dig into to actually give you an honest answer on that.
Well, okay, let's be clear. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
So this is the retreat. Well, I don't know enough about that. I'm going to argue that I'm in favor of this or against this, but when you get down to the details, actually, I got to look into it more.
Yeah, rephrase, because maybe I'm misunderstanding.
I'm not saying that they knew it was false when it was illegal. They did know these allegations were false, but I can't prove that, right? So what we do know is they were deemed illegal because there was information withheld from the FISA court. That's the problem. Now, the FBI might say, well, we truly believe that the allegations were true, and so that's why we were investigating, or we weren't sure if they were true. That's why we were investigating. But the reason they were illegal wasn't because it was proven that they knew it was a lie and they kept investigating. It's because they changed evidence in the case of Kevin Kleinsmith, or they withheld evidence from the FISA court. For example, they withheld the fact that they met with the primary subsource, Igor Danchenko, and Igor Danchenko told them, basically, this was all bar talk. I don't have proof for any of these. And they didn't tell the FISA court that. They just said, we met with Igor Danchenko. I'm talking about the FBI that was doing the investigation, Comey's team.
Yeah, I understand that.
The FBI.
I understand that. When you say they, we're talking about like a whole, like, I'm trying to actually figure out the individuals who are responsible for these things. So when you say they, you're speaking of the entire FBI.
Kevin Kleinsmith, Andrew McCabe, Kevin Kleinsmith, pretty much the 8-person team that was investigating Trump with the Russia collusion, almost all of which were the same ones that were investigating Hillary.
And details like that are somebody else is going to be better at those details than what I do here. I'm not a newscaster. I'm not here to broadcast the current events. I'm here to break down conversations and talk about how we talk to each other. And so that seems to be a common thing that liberals, including Devon, try to hang over my head. That, oh, you don't even know what you're talking about. Well, I'm talking about a concept. Just because I don't know the specific details of it, like, yeah, you got me. You know more of the details than I do. But then how come you still don't understand where I'm coming from? I don't know. I said I've been inadvertently wrenched from time to time. Little did they know I'm a wretch who disdains blue and Spanish. There you go. There you go. Who's yelling? Was anyone yelling? I mean, don't forget, we're about 50 minutes into this already. So they started off very reasonable, to be fair to both.
Person team that was investigating Trump with the Russia collusion, almost all of which were the same ones that were investigating Hillary. They went as easy as possible against Hillary and hard as possible against Trump. Right?
Okay. Well, my question is, Kevin Kleinsmith was held accountable, correct?
Yeah. What was his punishment?
It fell within the guidelines of the 0 to 6 months.
He got a small fine and lost his license to practice law for a year.
Yeah. What's his name?
Life ruined.
Carter Page actually asked for them to like go easy on Kleinsmith anyway.
He may have. It's irrelevant.
Well, no. I think that is relevant because isn't that what a judge considers when they actually decide to punish him?
The judge, who, by the way, I believe is Judge Boasberg, the same guy that's ruling against Trump, who happens to get all these cases now and rules against Trump every time. That same guy, I don't care what Carter Page said. Carter Page wasn't the only victim. Did they ask Trump if he thought? Wasn't he a victim of this smear as well? Did they ask all the people whose data was collected by these FISA warrants how harsh the penalty should have been?
Maybe not. If me
and you are roommates and someone breaks in and steals our shit and you say, I don't think that this guy should be punished that hard, why wouldn't they ask me? My shit got stolen too.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I think people are just, that's just how he is.
That's fair, and I would have to see the other people who were like.
And furthermore,
what's
it matter that Kleinsmith received some sort of slap on the wrist punishment? What's the relevance of this whatsoever? The reason we're on this particular topic was you're like, well, the reason that it's not a big deal that CISA primed social media to think that this
hold on. I have to clarify.
So this is kind of recapping Devon's main position here.
I did not say it was not a big deal.
Okay, it seemed that you implied that it wasn't by saying, well, actually, they had reason to believe that it was Russian disinformation at the time.
No, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's not a big deal. That just means that it seems that the facts lead to the conclusion making more sense than something that is a little more nefarious.
What's in?
I'm not here to say that.
So he's trying to argue that, well, it makes sense that you would see the Hunter Biden laptop story and think that it was Russian disinformation. No, it doesn't.
I'm not here to say that it is or isn't, but when I look into the facts of the situation, and if we're talking specifically about the Kleinsmith situation, I can understand from afar thinking that, oh, wow, like he should have been like way punished for that. And even I could disagree outside of like the legal case. I could disagree morally. And I could be like, yeah, he probably should have gotten more time. However, When I look at the guidelines, I look at the fact that the first offense, it was his first offense and it was considered.
It's irrelevant.
When
It's
I look
irrelevant.
at the fact that
I
know you say it's irrelevant. And
It's
maybe
irrelevant.
Well, the handbook says that you're only supposed to get a $300 fine, so I guess it's okay.
we would agree outside of the law that it's irrelevant morally. But I'm literally just going by those
I want you to
that-
explain.
Oh, don't worry. He will win you over. Shout out to Rob Noerr.
Explain to me in the audience right now why Kevin Kleinsmith has anything whatsoever to do with the point you're making about Hunter Biden laptop. Go ahead.
Okay. My explanation is that we kind of went down a rabbit hole, and I was gonna try earlier to bring it back to the Chris Krebs thing because that's kind of what we were trailing down, but I didn't want to interrupt you.
No, the point is, when I said, I was making one point. We have all these people at these intel agents and former intel agencies. On one hand, there was actual Russian disinformation. None of them spoke out and said, this looks like Russian disinformation. That happened to harm Trump. On the other hand, we had what wasn't Russian disinformation, and all of these people came out and said, yes, this looks like Russian disinformation. And that also happened to harm Trump. And
it always seems to go in one direction. There's never a mistake that hurts the Democrats or that helps the Republicans.
we're like, yeah, but Kevin Kleinsmith got punished.
No,
You
that
see
was just,
why I'm saying that?
No. Hold on. You got
I said, shit, me too.
you got to understand what I'm saying. You brought up Kevin Kleinsmith, and I just responded to the Kevin Kleinsmith thing. That has nothing to do with everything we were talking about before. That was a direct response to something you brought up. If we want to talk about the differences between these cases, we can do that. But I was honing in on one specific thing.
Me bringing up Kevin Kleinsmith was in this context, that the FBI illegally spied on Trump's team. You seem to think, or you implied that that was because they knew that the information was inaccurate. I said, well, no, the reason that it was deemed illegal was because they changed evidence, at least one person, Kevin Kleinsmith, and they withheld evidence, right?
Yeah,
the idea of whether or not Kevin Kleinsmith was punished is irrelevant to the point I was making. The reason that these FISA warrants were deemed illegal was because of that. The punishment that Kevin Kleinsmith got, which once you said he was punished, I'm forced to inform the audience he was given a slap on the wrist, to which you're then like, yeah, but that slap on the wrist was justified. I disagree with that, but it's a red herring that has nothing to do.
No. I did not say it was justified.
He got punished.
Did he though? Did he really get punished?
Justified. I said even morally, I could disagree with it. So let me tell you what I feel. I feel in that situation, without like a full understanding of the law aside from what I brought in, I feel like that's highly irresponsible, and that's crazy that someone could get away with that. However, I'm not someone who's in the profession of law. So when I actually look at, is this normal for somebody to be punished this way for this thing? And I looked at all the things that were considered. I'm like, yeah, unfortunately, the law disagrees with what I feel. That's
I don't care. I'm saying that the punishment level of him is irrelevant to the grander scheme of
things. Yeah, that's fine. I was just
again sidestepping what you're saying, what you want to say, but you're in a conversation with somebody else and you're not addressing what they're saying.
And the fact that you said it was justified.
Let's try a different tact. You said that these intel officials, that there was definitely a lot of evidence that suggested this could have been Russian disinformation.
Again, talking about the Hunter Biden laptop.
Give me some of that evidence. What were they looking at that made them suspect this would have been it?
I believe it pointed to like Rudy Giuliani's ties to like Russian people and the fact that he had a copy of the laptop, which I guess makes sense.
Okay, so the argument is because Rudy Giuliani is on Trump's team.
Right? No, that's not what I said. That's not what I said. Can you repeat what I said? So you're on
because Rudy Giuliani had the laptop. Okay, so then
because he had hold on, no, because he had a copy of the laptop and he had ties to Russian oligarchs.
Okay, so then instead of using the word Rudy Giuliani, because you're saying his connections to Trump are irrelevant. Right, because when I brought that up, you said, no, that's not what I'm saying.
No.
Something else that you will see as we go through this is trying to pin down what exactly is it that is your position, Devon. It's very difficult. He is very slippery.
You asked me what was the evidence that they believed it was Russian disinformation.
Right, and I started the fact I implied because you said Rudy Giuliani. Okay. I made the mistake of thinking that you would make the argument because Rudy Giuliani was Trump's lawyer and he had connections to Russians. Please, let me finish. Please, let me. Okay, so then a human being that had connections to Russia had the laptop. That's why they thought, oh, that's it, right? The name Rudy Giuliani is irrelevant.
That's the argument. When you break it down, well, Giuliani had it and he had ties to Russia. So if somebody who has ties to Russia says something, that it's automatically Russian disinformation.
What?
Someone who had a copy to the laptop that had ties to Russian oligarchs. Yeah.
Okay, so
but that's only one point evidence, just for the record.
Okay, so on that point, so then you would say anyone that had connections to Russia that had incriminating evidence against another politician, we should be skeptical of that evidence.
If you're consistent,
it has the hallmarks of Russian disinformation.
I think if they had ties to something and they had like a copy of that somebody's property, then that would probably warrant it a little more.
What does the copy of the property have anything to do with it?
Because if the person who has the copy of the property has ties to these oligarchs, then
What does,
especially if it's hold on, I'm just answering the question.
Are you though?
Especially if it's something that they can alter the information on, like say a copy of a laptop, then that's sort of reason to believe that what gets released might be altered because you can do that.
okay, so if it wasn't that, if he didn't have the laptop and instead some dirty ass Russian had the laptop and Rudy Giuliani had connections to the Russian and Rudy Giuliani fed the information and said, oh, here's what these emails will say. I can't show them to you, but trust me, Russians have it that this happened. You would say that's totally on board then, that the FBI would never say that has connections to Russian disinformation.
And so what you can see Rob is doing, he's very good at categorizing what is being said to him logically, and not Calvin Klein, Kevin Kleinsmith. But you can see that Rob is very good at taking in the information and putting in a logical structure in his mind. And when you can do that in real time, you can put that structure together and look for issues with it. So before it was, well, Giuliani had ties to the Russians. And then when Devon realized, oh, okay, well, that's not really strong evidence, then we're on to this point. And so what Rob can do is, okay, so then if you say that, then logically you should also say this. And so when he doesn't also logically say this, then the question comes, why are you saying the first thing in the first place? Shout out to Indyville. Welcome to the party. Are they? They were. I skipped over a bunch. They were talking generally about Russian disinformation. They were talking about the laptop before. I think that's what they're still on, but they've been bouncing back and forth, and it's generally about Russian disinformation. And again, if you are not familiar, I don't know why he wasn't on camera, but that Devon, who we know from debating me here on this channel as well as the Discord, that is who this is. Welcome to the party.
You would say that's totally on board then, that the FBI would never say that has connections to Russian disinformation.
You got to repeat that one more time.
Right. If Rudy Giuliani didn't have the laptop and instead said, I met with a Russian who showed me this. I personally don't have the laptop, but the Russians showed me these emails, right? And they said that they have these emails that Hunter Biden did all the stuff that the laptop accused. Then you're saying the FBI would have never suspected that this was Russian disinformation because
what was the argument before? Well, it was that Rudy Giuliani had the property and had ties to the Russians. So if somebody else who wasn't Rudy Giuliani had the laptop and also had ties to the Russians, then that would be enough to say that it's Russian disinformation. Of course not.
Rudy himself didn't have the laptop. My question to you is, why does having physical possession of the laptop matter?
Why does having physical possession of the laptop matter?
I got to answer the first question.
As to whether or not it is Russian disinformation.
Okay.
Because I have questions for myself about that. Because I'm curious, actually. Would
Notice how he's like, I got to go back and answer the first question. Well, if you just answered the first question when he gave you the first question, you wouldn't be all out of sorts.
Answer the first question, though. Because I have questions for myself about that. Because I'm curious, actually. Would the pathway to do that be becoming like a whistleblower in order to like say that, oh, I got this information from, I'm asking you because you seem to know more about that.
Let's say no. Let's say that he used that information for political purposes and also took it to the FBI. You can use the term whistleblower if you want. I think whistleblower means someone who works within an agency that then speaks out.
I think he just means, like, to be fair to Devon, I don't think he necessarily means whistleblower as somebody who works within a governmental agency and is going, I think he just means, like bring awareness to something that he thinks is not supposed to be.
Whistleblower if you want. I think whistleblower means someone who works within an agency that then speaks out about
I was asking
within that agency. So
I was asking
Rudy Giuliani.
I was asking a legitimate question of if someone were to do that, would that be the proper process?
I don't. Who was Phoebe Cates? Phoebe. Oh Jesus. I always spell Phoebe wrong. Phoebe Cates. I don't remember this at all. What is the relevance here? What did you talk about?
Rudy Giuliani.
I was asking a legitimate question of if someone were to do that, would that be the proper process? That was my question.
Well, no, because I guess my answer is to be a whistleblower, it's very specific. You have to work within an agency. So in no way whatsoever would Rudy Giuliani be a whistleblower in that context.
Right. So I think, and maybe Rob's not understanding that Devon doesn't mean that, and so that's why he's sticking specifically. But I think, again, I'm not sure, but I think Devon is just trying to say not necessarily a whistleblower because he worked, but someone calling out, like the whole "see something, say something" type deal. I think so.
To work within an agency. So in no way whatsoever would Rudy Giuliani be a whistleblower in that context.
Okay, yeah. If he was doing that outside of applying to that, then maybe it would be a little shady.
Wait. If he was doing it outside of
what?
Outside of being I guess being a whistleblower, and it was just something like that.
Define to me how would Rudy Giuliani
How did we get on this?
be a whistleblower? Whistleblowing against what?
Trump wasn't the president at the time, right? That was
Well, Trump was president when allegedly Rudy Giuliani got this laptop.
okay. Yeah, wouldn't he be whistleblowing against the government at that time?
How?
I'm genuinely
He's not a member of government. He wouldn't be protected by whistleblower laws or anything of the nature. Whistleblowers.
Yeah, so that's a very specific thing, but I think, again, Devon's just saying, well, he's calling attention to a bad thing on his side. Shout out to Arrow! Welcome to the party, starting us off, waking up the puppy with a $5, making you holler. Thank you. So very, very much. Remember, guys, every single donation comes with a treat for Morty. And check out that swole goal, guys. It's another peanut butter night. If we get 15 donations or a total of $50, Morty is going to get a jar of peanut butter that I've gotten all I can out of it. And for the first time, it's going to be the second time. So you remember that he can only get his face in. Actually, do I have it here? I don't know. He can only get his face in the jar so far. And so there's a peanut butter at the bottom of the thing. Tonight, the first time, we're going to saw it off and give it to him. He is going to be excited. Arrow started us off with the $5. Thank you. So very, very much. Of course, that makes you the new sponsor of the stream. Very, very, very much appreciated. We also got Luckrock in the building. Welcome to the party. And shout out to Adam Cadman. Said, what lapdog did Rudy get? I think we're talking about the laptop, but we're talking about Hunter Biden. What about what? I'm all out of sorts. I don't know. Welcome to the party, guys. Thank you again, Arrow. Let's dive right back in.
He's not a member of government. He wouldn't be protected by whistleblower laws or anything of the nature. Whistleblowers are, you work for a government agency. You see something that's corrupt. You go to your bosses. They don't deal with it. You go outside of that. There are specific laws that protect you. Then going outside of your agency to blow the whistle on the corruption you see within. A person who is not working for government that says, I see corrupt. For example, if I see Trump tomorrow, taking money from Xi from China, I wouldn't be a whistleblower because I'm not working for Trump. I would say I saw something corrupt. I would report it. You're not a whistleblower if you see someone break into your neighbor's house and you report the crime.
So I think Devon was using, because if he had said that, I wouldn't have even necessarily thought about the specific use of whistleblower laws. I would understand that he just means that calling attention to some wrongdoing.
Yes,
right?
This is literally why I was asking, because I genuinely didn't know. That was a genuine question. I wasn't debating.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. So then Rudy's not a whistleblower. He talks to this Russian. Russian says, we got Hunter Biden's laptop. It shows all this shit. He takes that shit to Trump. Trump uses it in the campaign trail, and they go to the FBI and say, we saw this. Is that would the FBI in that world say, oh, this doesn't have the hallmarks of Russian disinformation because Rudy doesn't have physical possession of the laptop?
I don't know, because that scenario hasn't played out. So
then why are you bringing that up as a part of it? Well, he had possession of it. If you don't know how that would affect the scenario, then how is that evidence towards your position? I want to be fair here. I could have easily, dunked on Devon. Oh, stupid! You think whistleblowers not? I'm not trying to do that. It was clear to me what he meant, and that's what I want to address.
Have physical possession of the laptop.
We gotta call it like it is.
I don't know, because that scenario hasn't played out, so I wouldn't know if they would. From what I know, that the situation that actually did occur, him having that image of the laptop was one of the things that they considered.
What about that situation that I just outlined would make you think that there's a
I know what Fast Times at Ridgemont High is. I just don't know what it's referencing in this comment.
Possibility that people at the FBI or former intel officials would not think that was Russian disinformation?
literally the fact that it seems that there's a lot of discretion when it comes to these things, and I don't necessarily have the information to know how they would react in a situation that happened.
And that's where every conversation with Devon ends. Well, I don't have enough information. It's never that, oh, okay, you're right. I didn't know that. It's, oh, well, I have to go get more information. Which, I mean, it sounds like like in an individual instance, that's a reasonable and humble thing to say. But when you're using it as a replacement for, okay, you're right, I didn't know that, then it's a cop-out. And you'll see how many times it happens just in this conversation. And if you saw our debate, you know how often it is.
When it comes to these things, and I don't necessarily have the information to know how they would react in a situation that happened.
That's exactly my point. Exactly my point. These people that didn't like Trump use their discretion to say that they thought the thing that wasn't Russian disinformation was, and the thing that was Russian disinformation wasn't. And both times it was to go after Trump, who they don't like. And you're right. Individuals can have discretion on what they say. Now, the claims within the laptop, other than, and the reason I bring up that hypothetical is because I hate to break this to you, but did you know there was this guy named Igor Dushenko that was investigated for potentially being a Russian spy that was working through intermediaries to help Hillary Clinton's team, who actually did spread Russian disinformation that not only did Hillary Clinton's team use, but they actually fed to the FBI, who didn't verify and then used it to illegally spy on Trump. And yet not one former intel official spoke up and said, this has the hallmarks of Russian disinformation, even when they knew the primary subsource was a Russian person who had connection to Russian intelligence. And yet not one of them said it. And just because, though, Rudy Giuliani's the person with the laptop, they're like, this looks like Russian disinformation to us. And despite the fact that you're downplaying this, it makes it even worse.
You're throwing a lot at me, man. I got to answer.
Okay, I'll pause. Go ahead. Go ahead.
All right. So when you talk about the Igor Dushenko thing, so this is my understanding, and you can tell me where I'm wrong about this.
You got the magic powers.
So I understood that this information, a lot of the people that had given this information, they weren't aware that it was going into a dossier. Hillary ended up paying for this information from like some law firm she was working for, and it was like supposed to be opposition research.
It's not. I mean, I remember a specific line that I'm gonna star this, and when it comes back, oh man, we are gonna die laughing. He's not stoned. It's something else.
Paying for this information from like some law firm she was working for, and it was like supposed to be opposition research, and the opposition research was just wrong. When you talk about the FBI not knowing this, I had asked a question earlier about them like having that information and them like not knowing that it was like, or not like speaking out against it being Russian disinformation. In what context would they have been able to speak out? Because they had the information at some point, right?
It was.
I don't understand the question.
It wasn't the FBI itself that spoke out publicly and said that the Hunter Biden laptop was disinformation. It was former officials, many of whom still had security clearances. The reason they spoke out was because the story became public. So they would have had the same opportunity to come out and publicly denounce the Russia collusion investigation into Trump, saying this reeks of Russian disinformation once the story became public. None of them did.
Okay. So there was no like investigation into that at all. There was nobody within the FBI that was looking at that at all when it came public. Like nobody did anything about that.
Well, one, that's irrelevant to the point we're talking about. We're talking about former intel officials, some of
moving the goalposts,
which still had connections to the FBI or in security clearances, saying this looks like Russian disinformation.
Yeah, I know. But what I'm trying to say is that in what opportunity would they be able to have said that about Crossfire Hurricane? You're talking about when it went public, right? When it went public, when it first started being released. When it went public, what information did the FBI have about it that it involved Dushenko?
They knew who the primary subsource was. What does that have anything to do with what we're talking about?
Because that matters.
I'm glad he said it because I thought I was lost.
In order, if they knew who the hold on, you asked the question, man. If they knew who Igor Dushenko was and they knew that he was the one that was behind that, then it would make sense for them to speak out. I agree about that. But I need to know what they knew in order for me to say it made sense for them to speak out or not.
Hey, man. Dilly. Anytime you can wake up in a great mood, dilly to that. Oh, look, a gift horse in the mouth, man. And Bill said they knew it was all fake and they used it to prosecute Trump.
Bingo.
Yep. And like that's very clear. It's very clear. And you can talk about different legalese in a way that, well, technically it's not this, that. But like we all know we all know what it is. And it's just mental gymnastics and rationalization to try to get away from it. And again, there's plenty that you can criticize Trump for if you don't like him. Why using this fake stuff? This is the whole thing that really started to get me off of the never Trump train back, a decade ago, because people were making up lies. I was like, okay, yeah, this guy's bad. He has no experience. He's mean. He's racist. He's all these things. Let's focus on that stuff. I remember, was it Democrats Now or Occupy Democrats? Shout out to Occupy Democrats. Oh man, they used to, have these videos where they would be like, kind of like a 10-minute deep dive into somebody that was really hurt by Trump. And it was like somebody who, furnished one of the Trump towers or one of the casinos or something, and they didn't get a great deal or something like that. And I was like, okay, here's an actual story. Here's an actual story that we can use to show Trump's character, exactly what they're talking about. Remember, this is a decade ago. And yet people were focused on the murders and rapists thing. It's like, guys, that's a distraction. And then I'm like, oh no, they're doing that on purpose. They're doing that on purpose. I'm not on this team.
Does that make sense?
You're conflating two groups. On one hand, you're saying, what did the FBI know about Igor Dashchenko, when that's not the group we're talking about? We're talking about former intel officials. So if your question is, at what point did former intel officials know that the primary subsource was Russian? That would be a more apt question. Is that the question you're asking?
Okay, yeah, that works. Former intel officials.
All right. Shout out to Box. Welcome to the party. Very good to see ya. Let's back that up one more time and get a good start.
Did former intel officials know that the primary subsource was Russian? That would be a more apt question. Is that the question you're asking?
Okay, yeah, that works. Former intel officials.
Rob's debating himself.
Okay. One, they would still say that it would have hallmarks of Russian disinformation for reasons I could get into.
Oh, he's got a camera. He has been on this channel on camera. He's been on the Raging Tomato panel on camera. We'll be fair and assume that maybe his camera just wasn't working or something. I heard some car thing, like some car driving in the background. Maybe he's somewhere where he's not getting good enough service on his phone or something. But he definitely has a camera, and either way, I think he's glad that his face ain't on this video.
One, they would still say that it would have hallmarks of Russian disinformation for reasons I could get into in a second if you want. Secondly, it eventually became public that the primary subsource was a Russian person with connections to Russian intel. So at that point, what would be their excuse at that point? Once they heard these stories that went right out of like a fucking Cold War novel with the KGB, Trump was getting pissed on in a bed, where Barack Obama wants to...
The P-tapes! I synced it!
They call that compromise. In fact, at the time, what we were told over and over was, oh, this is straight out of the KGB playbook. This is what they do. They find American politicians and agents, etc., in compromising sexual positions.
No, that's Epstein. Or did he?
But none of them said this has the hallmarks of Russian disinformation, even though it was. No one said it, even once they knew, and they would have assumed before they knew that the source of this was Russian. The reason is because they didn't like Trump.
When the information went public, there was an investigation after that, correct?
There was already an investigation occurring when the investigation was made public.
Okay, so do you think that maybe that's the reason why they didn't feel that they needed to author a letter, because there was already something going on that was getting to the bottom of that?
There was already an investigation going on into Hunter Biden laptop when they authored that letter as well.
There was already an investigation going into the
Correct.
Hunter Biden laptop
Correct.
when they authored that?
Yes. The FBI had and was looking at Hunter Biden's laptop for months previous to that. Not only that, but there was
he's ChatGPT, and you can hear the clickety-clack.
all sorts of public disclosure, in fact, admitted at Trump's impeachment trial, even from places like the New York Times, that were like, everybody thought it was fucked up when Hunter Biden got on the board of directors at Burisma. So the difference is all of these allegations against Trump and the Russia collusion, this was like crazy shit, like he was getting pissed on, and like little people that worked for him may have had connections to Russian. Meanwhile, with the Hunter Biden story, right?
Yup. Shout out to Avery, the true disciple. Welcome to the party. Very good to see you, sir. how are we doing? Said, I remember him from another live stream, but not Discord. So he was in and out, not super all the time. So if you remember him from the stream, you're going to know him better than Discord. Speaking of Discord, let's take a quick little break. If you guys are enjoying the show, the party rages on 24/7 over in our Discord. The link is pinned to the top of the chat and is absolutely free to join 24/7. We're in there hanging out, having a great time. And guys, it is absolutely free. However, if you are a member of this channel here on YouTube, you can scroll right below that video and hit that join button. Starts at $2.99. There's a few different tiers, but $2.99 will get you in. It gets you members only live streams here on YouTube, all that other good stuff. But it opens up the full Discord server. So we've got the free chat that is open to anyone. Anybody can join and talk. But as you can see, that is just one of our channels. There's a bunch of different channels here, including our Disciple chat for members only, our Word of the Day watch party, where we're talking about all this stuff. And of course, we have the voice channel here, where we are hanging out at this moment. Shout out to everybody in the Discord server. Say hello and tell them to come and join. There you go, guys. Simple as that. See you there. And remember, guys, that after party is for channel members only. But if you click the free link at the top of the chat, that gets you to the free chat, you'll get a day pass for the entire server. You saw all those different channels, and we are headed to an after party as soon as this is done. Definitely come through. Avery said, bro, a lot of these fucking internet debaters use ChatGPT. You used to, you remember when you were on Raging Tomato, that guy, yep, I remember him. He was using ChatGPT. You can see it in his glasses. There's absolutely, I mean, like, I have a ChatGPT tab open here, as for references and stuff. But like, I show you guys, I'm not going to like type out something and ask it a question and then present the information that it gave me as if it came straight from me. It's whatever you got to do to sleep at night. Whatever you got to do to sleep at night. Shout out to DJ Isolated in the building. Welcome to the party. Adam said it's never too soon. I mean, oh, you're talking to each other? Box said I would party with Hunter Biden. I don't know, man. That might get a little too crazy. Seems like you got Diddy and you got like Hunter Biden, depending on the day, right up there. I don't know. Oh, YouTube. Don't forget, guys, we are always live on X and Rumble.
And like little people that work for him may have had connections to Russian. Meanwhile, with the Hunter Biden story, right, we actually knew from publicly confirmed shit that, yeah, Hunter Biden did work for Burisma. Yes, the guy that works for Burisma was told by the Obama State Department to be a corrupt Russian oligarch or a corrupt Ukrainian oligarch with ties to Russia. So all of that's right there. And yet they see that. They know that 95% of the story is true. And they just say, nah, it sounds like Russian disinformation to us.
Yep.
Okay. I guess my question here, because I'm trying to get to the different.
Hey, we also got Box News in the building. Welcome. The YouTube censorship is crazy. We all know that.
Difference between like the different situations here. Do you think that there's any situation where there's an investigation or something that you felt that the FBI should have written a letter publicly about and spoken about, regardless if there was an investigation happening or not, where they didn't?
Do you think the FBI should have put out a statement, regardless if they were investigating or not? I'm not fully understand why this question is being asked. So I'm trying to like, what does yes or no have to do with it? But I guess let's just listen.
Should they?
Aside from this one, obviously.
Do I ever think there's a situation where the FBI should publicly author a letter, regardless if they're having an investigation or not? That's the question.
Okay, so it's not just me.
My question is, were there any situations, because I'm trying to figure this out. It's possible, and I know you're not going to grant this because I understand that you have this idea that, you know, the reason why they did this is because this and that. But I'm just always these little things. Well, I know that, you know, you're not this because you automatically think that, or I know you're not going to give me the right answer because you're going to try to spin it in this. He does that a lot. And that is not good faith. Because I understand that you have this idea that, you know, the reason why they did this is because this and that. But
so he's basically saying, I'm going to present something, but I know you won't accept it because you're too biased. Before I even say it. Projection. Could it perhaps be that you are somebody who looks at Rob as somebody with a bias that you would not accept something from, and that is why you're saying it. Adam said, if you party with Hunter or Diddy, your ass will be sore by the morning. Ah, no, thank you. No, thank you.
To grant this because I understand that you have this idea that, you know, the reason why they did this is because this and that. But I'm just trying to critically think here. Is it possible
Just trying to critically think here. Okay.
why they did this is because this and that? But I'm just trying to critically think here. Is it possible that we can imagine a situation in which the FBI, former intelligence officers, didn't write a letter about a situation where you felt that it might have been prudent for them to do it and they hadn't before in the past outside of this?
Sure. Let's say there was a situation at one point where maybe it would have benefited the American people for the FBI to say, no, we are not investigating this, or yes, we are investigating this. Okay.
So is it hypothetically possible that a former intel official sees a story that breaks in the news? They think this story sounds like bullshit, but they didn't write a letter.
Hold on.
That's your question?
Did former intelligence officers say they thought it was bullshit?
They said they thought it had the hallmarks of Russian disinformation.
No, not that. I'm talking about the Crossfire, the Steele dossier.
No one, to my knowledge, no former intel official
Yeah, they are bouncing back and forth between the two.
wrote a public letter saying that this sounds like Russian disinformation.
Okay, so it doesn't sound like they necessarily always do that anyway, right? Because we can imagine different situations before that seemed like it was shady that they never wrote a letter for. Right?
I would
what
totally
makes this
agree.
specific situation different?
Okay.
I totally agree. That's a great question. You tell me.
I would say that they just don't write letters all the time. Like you can
totally
point to times in
agree.
history. Hold on, you can point to times in history where they have done that haven't involved
Show me.
Trump.
Give me one.
I
I
still
did a
don't
little bit of
understand.
research on it too.
I still don't understand, and maybe I'm the dumb one. I'm not blaming Devon here. I still don't understand why this is relevant. I don't get it. Bog said, if I'm being honest, this feels like metal masturbation. Welcome to Debating Lefties.
Try and pull them up. I think this goes back to like the 90s.
Okay. So what you're going to provide me is when a bunch of former intel officials collectively came together to say that a scandal that broke out against one candidate or political party sounded like
no. You're narrowing. What I'm going to show you, I guess as soon as I find it, what I'm going to show you is that there have been times where former intel agents or people who have worked in these institutions, government institutions, have written public letters because they were trying to prevent something or urge the government to like act a certain way based on something that they were worried about. So
no one thinks, but that's
I still don't know what he's talking about. And yeah, even as recently as Cash Patel and Dan Bongino being like, well, trust us, bro. Do you think I would hide stuff from you? I'm just in the FBI. You think I would hide stuff? Yeah, I do. Bucks, I'm going to get a new keyboard and learn how to use it. Thank the Lord.
different than weighing in on an election. That's
yeah,
what's
but all
unique
of these things are different. All of these letters that are written.
But what I'm saying is,
it seems like you're taking issue with one of the times that they've done.
No, it seems like what you're doing. First off, we're talking about the former officials that we got onto.
And again, I want to just put a reminder out there that we are not here to litigate the facts. That's what they're doing. We are here to judge the quality of conversation. We are here to point out what you should and shouldn't do in a debate or discussion or whatever, so that you can better communicate with people that you want to talk to.
It seems like what you're doing. First off, we're talking about the former officials that we got onto this, talking about Chris Krebs and CISA, which was a government agency that this guy was in charge of, knowing that this laptop story was real and preempting social media censoring the story by using basically the example of the laptop and saying, hey, if a story like this comes out.
Every time he says CISA, I think of SZA. Isn't there like a rapper or somebody? It's like SZA, SZA.
It's probably Russian disinformation.
That's what
we're talking about.
No. I don't think that we agreed to that. I think we made a distinction between what they believed, because I read the letter and it wasn't that they didn't believe that the laptop was real. It was that they didn't believe that all the information that came from it was real. That was what we agreed.
When you say they, who are you talking about? Chris Krebs, CISA?
Yeah, Chris Krebs, CISA, all of them are the 50 intel officers. Like anybody who had spoken out and said that this
can you explain to me what the letter of these 50 former intel officials, what that has to do with Chris Krebs?
I don't know, dude. Honestly, can I be
Okay, I'm glad we're all on the same page that you brought something up that has nothing to do with anything.
real honest right now, bro? We're hopping around a lot. I like a more like uniform, just conversation.
Yeah, but you're the one hopping around. You're the one hopping around. Ron's trying to nail down a position that you have, and you're the one that's hopping around. So pick a thing and stick with it. Just because he brings other things to demonstrate the principle behind what we're saying doesn't mean we have to go on a tangent about that thing. You could, if we're talking about the laptop, and then we bring up the Steele dossier to discuss a principle that we are talking about that applies to the laptop. That doesn't mean we now need to go litigate the Steele dossier. But it seems like Devon can't let these things go, or at the very least, it is I don't think it's a tactic. But I do think it is I think it's a natural thing where he just like, oh, well, I can talk about that. So it's not about moving the conversation forward. It's about getting one over. It's about getting one over. And that's exactly, the same thing when he's DMing me the video of Dave Smith on Breaking Points being like, Trump should be impeached for this. As if that's an own on me. Like, what? There you go. Shout out to Liberty Plus TV. I partied with worse people than Hunter Biden. Yikes, bro. That was either really fun or terrifying. Welcome to the party. Fox said, so if I want to pick apart the arguments and the debating style, I will just appeal to authority a little and just point out that this is two dudes arguing. Take at face value. Right. What are you? I don't get it.
When we're hopping around a lot, it's hard for me to lose track of exactly who we're talking about. So if we're not talking about the former intel officials writing a letter, which is what I believe we were talking about, we can talk about Chris Krebs, but can we just stick to one of these things?
Well, the point was, the way we got in here was you saying the targeting of Chris Krebs is immoral. That's uniquely one of the things we see with Trump that's bad, right? And I was like, well, I don't know much about this memo. Let's look into it. Who was Chris Krebs? What was his role? You say, I don't know. I look at it, I'm like, oh, he's the head of CISA. Wasn't CISA the agency that was like at the Aspen Institute and was priming that the Hunter laptop Biden story was bullshit? And then we had all these former intel officials. And then we got focused on the former intel officials. And I was saying, well, in this case, it wasn't Russian disinformation. And they said it was. But in the case of Trump with Crossfire Hurricane, it was Russian disinformation, and none of them spoke up.
Well, if you're just joining us, that was a fantastic recap of Rob Noerr versus Devon, who has been on the channel before. If you hadn't seen that, is who we are talking about.
Yeah, I understand that, but the information behind all of those things matters because the context matters. All of those, if you just lay out that story alone as a list, then yeah, you can infer different reasons why people came to these conclusions, but the context matters.
Okay, fine. If you're saying, look, you're bringing up he's not saying this specifically, but this is analogous to what Devon is saying. So if we're talking about the laptop and you bring up the Steele dossier because of the fact that, we're talking about Russian disinformation, then it's not fair because the principle is not the same. And so I, Devon, need to go into the details of what you're saying about the Steele dossier, even though we're talking about the laptop. So fair. But I mean, if that's the case, then you need to be able to let things go when it okay, maybe he's wrong about a particular detail with the Steele dossier. But if it doesn't affect the main argument on the laptop, then just let it go. You don't always have to be right about every little thing. And specifically, if you're the one saying, I want to stay on topic, well, then just don't address the things that are not on topic. Try this again. Box said, this is an argument where no one can win, and it's kind of shrouded in government and conspiracy. And that just never appealed to me. Again, there's no there. The topic is a non-starter. Well, that's why we're not doing the debate. That's why we are breaking down the conversation.
Which is why I want to focus on one thing and just go into it. So let's just talk about the intel, the 50 former intel officers.
Okay,
right now. Would you agree that that isn't something that is unique to this Hunter Biden laptop situation?
No, I do not.
What exception? What are we talking about? Is there an echo or something?
Written letters. Okay, so in 2003.
No. Let me ask me a question. Let me answer.
Expound. Go for it.
Yes, I think that former intel officials have at one point wrote a letter. For example, they may have wrote a letter to the local school board. They may have wrote a letter to Pizza Hut saying that the pizza they thought was good. So then you would say, well, have they ever written a letter saying that there was something that they thought was important that they wanted to talk about? Yes, I would assume that they've done that when it comes to governmental stories as well.
That's why I was confused, because that's such a broad question. Do you think the FBI has ever put out a letter on something that they were or were not investigating? Like, what do you mean by that?
In fact, we know more than that. We know that former intel officials are on media stations like CNN, MSNBC, ABC, CBS. So certainly former intel officials have written letters or publicly spoke out about stories that they saw about in the past. Have former intel officials ever came together in mass, like dozens of them, to weigh in on a story that they didn't know about on the eve of an election to say that it looked like Russian disinformation and been totally inaccurate about it?
So now we're getting towards the point that was being danced around, that the legitimacy of this letter is unprecedented, or rather the letter itself is unprecedented in the context that we're talking about, and he just wants to hand wave that. No.
Of an election to say that it looked like Russian disinformation and been totally inaccurate about it.
What are you even talking about?
I have no idea of any remotely similar circumstance that's ever occurred in, and I welcome you to show me that that's occurred.
So what you just said is not my question, and I understand that you're adding
Okay, so what is your question?
these different aspects to what makes this different. But I don't think that those are relevant. I think that it just happens to be that you found one of these letters, which has happened since 1991. I'm looking at actually, where collectively all these. Hold on, just let me answer the question first, and then you can do your thing.
Tell me what the letter you're looking at.
Or you can let me answer the question, and I'm just going to answer the question first.
I'm going to filibuster as well when it's mine, and then eventually you'll get to reading the letter that you want to talk about.
I'm not filibustering.
Him and all about it. Just tell me what the
getting very WWE
was.
with it, man. We don't got to do this, all right? What I'm trying to tell you is that I think that you are looking at this one specific letter and thinking that it is unique because of all of these things, like all of these things around you at the time that it happened and all of that. I don't think that the time that it happened is relevant to it, because
I don't believe you. Show me an example. I don't believe that any
all right.
Is that what he's saying? That we have an example of other letters like this signed by 50 former intelligence agencies the night before an election?
Happened all of these.
I thought Devon was saying that those contextual details don't really matter, and there's been other letters, but because it wasn't on the night of the eve of the election, then it's different. That's what I thought he was saying.
You are looking at this one specific letter and thinking that it is unique because of all of these things, like all of these things around you at the time that it happened and all of that. I don't think that the time that it happened is relevant to it, because
I don't believe you. Show me an example. I don't believe that any former intel official. Let me finish. This will just speed it along. I don't think that any intel official has ever written a letter about anything ever. Can you show me an example you're talking about? There.
Yeah. So in that
example,
there you go. Reductio ad absurdum. If you just bring it to the most extreme end, the extreme version of the thing that you're talking about. Nope, I think no intelligence agent has ever written a letter ever. That's clearly not true, but you present that out there, and now the burden is on well, technically the burden would be on Rob to say that, but as soon as Devon says yes there is, shifts the burden, and now we can ask for an example. Adam said no other letter has ever been produced like this letter. Bingo. That is Rob's point, and I think Devon knows that, which is why we're dancing around so much.
Yeah, all right. I didn't realize you were going to be impatient. All right, 1991.
Now we're going. I didn't realize you were impatient. I'm just here, wanting to verify the things that you're saying. How impatient of you! The ad hominems. It's like liberals don't understand that that's what that is.
An example?
Yeah, all right. I didn't realize you were going to be impatient. All right, 1991. 20 former intel and defense officials on the Gulf War. They wrote something about like expelling Iraq from Kuwait. It was 20 former CIA agents, actually, and Pentagon agents and State Department officials. They signed a letter to like oppose the immediate and military action, and there was a purpose behind it. The purpose was basically like a warning that the war could destabilize the region. A lot of the times people write these letters because they have a fear of something general. What I would say about the actual letter that the 50 former
Shout out to Tony Danza.
Intel agents wrote regarding the Hunter Biden laptop is that they were worried, like, given the context of Russians actually meddling in the election, that would be an issue and that would undermine our elections. Not to say that there aren't any other instances where elections have been undermined, but it's not necessarily something where Intel agents get together every time something happens and writes letters. I'm saying that there's a precedent for this. That's what I'm saying.
Can you show me?
So again, I think he's going to say it again. Can you show me the example? You're saying there is precedent for this. Show me the letter. What did it say? What were the details? And instead of just being, okay, here's the letter. And then when, Rob's saying filibuster, but a lot of times it's just very wordy. They're not very concise with what they're trying to say. And so then we, as people who can better communicate, get frustrated that like, just spit it the fuck out. It's like, just let me talk. You're so angry. It's like, no, I'm angry at you right now because of what you are doing.
There every time something happens and writes letters. I'm saying there's a precedent for this. That's what I'm saying.
Can you show me an example of any time in history where former Intel officials en masse have came together that said that a scandal that came out about one candidate during election season was untrue?
No, I can't find that.
Then that's the point. So we agree. This is a unique situation. All of that to agree.
Exact example. But what I can find you, if you let me expound on the answer, what I can find you is that former Intel agents getting together and writing on a situation isn't foreign, and all of these different letters that I could find have different context to it. So the context of the 50 Intel agencies writing the letter about Hunter Biden laptop is going to be different from the one from 1998, from the one from 2003, from the one from 1991. It just seems that you're looking at the context of that one and you're saying because it's different, that means it's unprecedented when all of these letters have been different.
Okay, that's a fair point, but then you need to bring up the letters and give us the context and show how that is a at least analogous situation to the letter that we're talking about. I mean, shout out to MTV, but if you don't know about Much Music was where it was at.
I'm not even using the word unprecedented. I would say it's nearly unprecedented, possibly unprecedented.
There you go. So not even the claim that this is nothing like this has ever happened before. It's not even the claim.
However, there is two things. There is former officials saying, I think this would be good policy or bad policy. And then there are former officials during an election saying, I think that this scandal is bullshit.
Yeah. Do you understand my reasoning why I believe that was the case?
I understand that your bias is leading you to say, no, there's no distinction there.
So do you understand?
Now, how is this different than when I called out Devon for by saying, well, I'm going to give you something, but you're biased, so you're not going to accept it. The difference is that Ram has said the thing, and then Devon has demonstrated that his bias is getting in the way. So he's calling that out. He's not predicting and acting like he can read Devon's mind. He's going based off Devon's words.
I understand that your bias is leading you to say, no, there's no distinction there.
So do you understand my reason why I believe that that's the case?
Let me finish. I understand that any objective person would disagree with you. They would say there is clearly a difference between Intel officials weighing in to benefit one political party and one political candidate over the other with no evidence suggesting that a major scandal on the eve of the election must be disinformation. That is completely different.
And that's a big part of it. The night before the election is a big part of the claim. So to say like, well, yeah, it's not, it doesn't have anything to do with the night of election, but everything else about this is the same. Well, that's not what we're talking about. The eve of the election is a big part of it.
Then Intel officials saying, we think this invasion is a mistake, or we think that this economic policy is a mistake. Weighing in on policies is different than weighing in to put your thumb on the scale in an election season. I think that almost every objective person would agree with that. And you just hand wave it away by saying, oh, no, that distinction doesn't matter. Clearly, they feared that Russia was interfering, so therefore it's okay.
Called it. You called it. It matters when it helps my point, but when it doesn't, same.
Okay, so can you explain why I believe that is the case?
Because you're biased, because you're making excuses for the obvious double standard and bias when it comes to our intel agencies, because you don't want to admit the truth. that these agencies clearly, as Chuck Schumer said, they would find 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at Trump. You don't want to come to that conclusion. So instead, you're jumping through as many hoops as possible to explain why these agents were incorrect when they didn't speak up about the disinformation against Trump that was sourced from Russians, but why they did speak up also being incorrect against the Hunter Biden laptop story, which they were incorrect on. Again, both stories hurt Trump. Both actions by those agencies hurt Trump.
Shout out to Rob. And that's why I'm realizing that I don't necessarily want to, when it comes to debates, the religious stuff is more my area. And the fact that I've kind of taken a step back from that on the channel, I don't necessarily want to get into these types of debates because of the fact that I don't, read into the little details about all these things, because I don't think it matters. A lot of these things, we just went through all of that, saying that these differences matter, and they don't. So I don't know. I mean, I'm definitely open to do debates, but because of the fact that I'm not, sitting around all day and reading news articles and sourcing this, and which, good for you if you have the time and energy to do that. But some of us got to work. And just because you don't know every single detail doesn't mean what you have to say doesn't matter. Anyway, so these people knew that the Hunter laptop was real. They knew all the damning evidence on it was real. In the debate, Biden, who knew it was real, discounted it, saying 50 officials said it's not real. Well, they're experts. So we got to trust the experts. Bach said the poli-sci kind of debate takes a lot of learning first. Yeah, it's easy to be like, God is not there, don't lie to me, and then talk about Iran. No, I mean, I disagree. I think there is, they're just two different worlds. And so I know I've done a lot more studying of morality, philosophy, that stuff, than I do keep up with the details of the news happening every day. That's just not what I have the time to do. And because the question of like, does God exist, or are you those are not changing day to day to day to day. So it's just different. And so like when I'm not that guy and I'm trying to have a discussion and you know more of the details than me, but we come to see that those details amount to nothing, then you win the debate because you knew more, even though you were wrong.
Again, both stories hurt Trump. Both actions by those agencies hurt Trump.
Let's try this, because I think you're just going to call me biased and not try to understand my actual position. So do you...
Wait, what? There's more agreement about Bush or no Bush? Are we talking about pubes, or are we talking about the president?
Agree that, and I'm going to ask you a series of questions. Do you agree that letters written by former intel agents, multiple former intel agents, about something that the government is...
Dilly. When you have solid principles, the details aren't super important. Now, I'm not saying the details aren't important, but they're not as important as the principles behind it. Beautifully said. Abso-fucking-lutely.
Letters written by former intel agents, multiple former intel agents, about something that the government is going to do, or that the government has done, or something that involves U.S. policy or just anything like that, has been written for the purpose of avoiding something that they felt would be harmful to the nation.
Yes.
Okay.
We've already gone through all this, but
do you agree? Hold on. Do you agree that former intel agents or former intel workers, all that stuff, they would write letters in order to avoid or warn against something that could be harmful to the nation?
Yes.
Do you think that it's possible that, given the fact
they actually thought that it was Russian disinformation? No. We already had this conversation.
That Russians have been interfering with our elections, that 50 intel agents may have written a letter because they believe that the meddling in elections would be harmful to the nation?
So, see, here you are, Box. You're talking shit about what we're watching, yet adding very important information that I didn't think to bring up. And you're absolutely right. Do you agree that this, that, or would you say that this, that is usually, I mean, trap is a strong word, but, I definitely get that it could be. And the being able to recognize that means that when someone says, do you agree that XYZ, that you have to understand from their perspective why they are asking you if you agree. Where is this going to go? So if I say this, if I agree with this and I agree with that, then it logically leads to this. It's got to be thinking about it. I said, surely equals the weak point of the argument. Say more on that. What do you mean by that?
Cool. That given the fact that Russians have been interfering with our elections, that 50 intel agents may have written a letter because they believe that the meddling in elections would be harmful to the nation.
No.
Okay.
Any more
so
questions?
You just don't believe. So you just don't believe that it's possible that even though they have a history of writing letters when they feel that something is harmful to the nation, that their actual reason for writing this wasn't that, but instead it was some sort of nefarious plot.
Yes, I believe that circumstantial evidence and specific evidence we have strongly suggest that. I answered your questions with brevity. I'll ask you to do the same.
No, that's a big one. Yes, no, yes, no. Do you agree? Do you think? Yes, no. Should be that simple. Put a one in the chat if you think Devon is going to be that concise. Bog said, if you hear someone say surely or some version of that, pay attention. But like, what is the weak point of it though? Like the weak point of that somebody saying surely is at their weakest point, or the debate itself? Is it like just what exactly do you mean?
Specific evidence we have strongly suggest that. I answered your questions with brevity. I'll ask you to do the same. Will you agree that there's ever been a time where a presidential administration has targeted an official for potential crimes? An official from the other party for potential crimes? Yes or no? It's a fight. Okay. So your argument is there has never been a time when a presidential administration,
and that's exactly what we are doing here. The only good debates are the ones that have people who listen to others' counterpoints and respond, which is why I want to show you that is not always the case and how to call that out and how to bring that back to center. And I think Rob is being patient because he knows his content. Don't call me Shirley. Shirley? What is that? Is that from Airplane or Naked Gun? It's Naked Gun, right?
So, okay. So your argument is there has never been a time when a presidential administration has targeted an official from the other party for potential crimes. That's your argument?
No. Well, it depends.
That's never happened.
I don't believe so, no.
Okay. Explain going after Donald Trump and his people through the Biden administration.
Yeah, what did the Biden administration do specifically? They went after.
What did the Biden administration do to Trump?
Come on, man.
I don't know. Just all the lawfare, hiring, appointing judges that ran on putting him away. Come on, man. What?
An administration.
Yeah, what did the Biden administration do specifically? They went
after Trump's lawyers. They went after Steve Bannon.
Steve Bannon was in jail.
After Peter Navarro. They went after Trump and were investigating him. You didn't know this? This is news to you?
Hold on. No, because I'm trying to figure something out here. You said the Biden administration.
Correct.
I feel like you're making a specific allegation against specific people, right? So who, what?
So look, notice how we're already sliding away from the point here. We're already sliding away from the point. Well, you say the Biden administration, but who specifically are we talking about? How is that relevant?
I feel like you're making a specific allegation against specific people, right? So who was the individual that went against these, that went after these people? Who were the individuals that went after these people?
There were plenty of people. For example, we had someone at Biden's DOJ that decided to go take a demotion and go work for Bragg's office, so that he could directly go after Trump for that bullshit charge. We know that people in the Biden DOJ, for example, Merrick Garland appointed a special counsel to investigate Trump and investigate him for that. You don't disagree with that? Jack Smith, correct?
Yeah. So is this...
So that answers your question. That's what the Biden administration did to Trump.
Is it unique for any administration outside of like the... Hold on. Just give me 1 second, breathe.
I'm not...
He's got it. Did he just say breathe? He's the one on camera, bro. You can see that he's just fucking sitting there. I cannot take it. I cannot take it. It's so slimy. Act like a fucking adult. Act like a fucking adult. Breathe, man. It's okay.
outside
It's not
of
the
like
question,
the
it's not
hold
the
on. Just give me 1 second, breathe.
I'm not interested
Outside
in your
of because
equivocating. I'm refusing to
I
answer
understand
whatever
that
you
you're not.
ask. I
I
refuse to
understand that
answer.
you're. I understand that you're not.
I generously
There's
answered
no
your
reason to do
questions.
this,
I
bro.
generously
Relax.
answered
I
your
answered
question.
your question.
No. You did not. You admit that you
Yes,
were
I did.
incorrect. Admit that you were incorrect, or I'm uninterested in answering your counterfactual question
I'm
to me.
incorrect.
Yep. Oh, how often do I talk about that pet peeve of the fact that you, someone will say something, you debunk it, and they just move right on by it onto the next thing, Like, hold on. Can we acknowledge that you just made an incorrect point there? That is how you're supposed to debate.
Incorrect. Admit that you were incorrect, or I'm uninterested in answering your counterfactual question
I'm
to
incorrect.
me.
Hold on. I'm incorrect. Hold on. I'm
Thank you.
incorrect.
That's
about
all that
what?
matters.
No,
that's
hold on.
it.
I'm asking you. You're not trying to understand anything I'm saying. I'm incorrect. No, because I'm asking you a question and you're saying correct. I'm incorrect about what?
You were incorrect when you said that you were unaware of any example in history where an administration has gone after an official from the other party.
I said, not that I know of. I'm unsure.
Okay, will you admit now that you're in
Always non-committal. Well, I don't know.
other party?
Stand on
I said,
business.
not that I know of. I'm unsure.
Okay, will you admit now that you're incorrect?
That an administration. Okay, hold on. This requires clarification, right? When you say an administration, you're talking about the broader, like the DOJ, like the entire government itself, right?
Yes.
Correct. Okay.
Yes.
If that's the case, then yeah, we've seen administrations investigate the opposite parties before. However,
Okay, no,
The
I'm not
important-
interested
the
in
important-
however. Notice
you're not.
when I
Yeah,
answered
you're
you.
blocking your
Notice when-
ears, and
notice
you're not
when-
want to hear my
notice
answer.
when
I'm
I
trying to have a
answered you.
constructive conversation.
Notice when I answered you, I answered simply yes or no. That's what I did. When I answered you,
Three
why
questions.
can't you
If
give
you
me
have-
the same
if
courtesy?
you have-
Why can't
if you
you give
have-
me the same courtesy?
if you
I have a
have-
string
I'm
of
answering the
questions.
question.
I have a
I'm
string of
answering the
questions,
question.
just like you. When you said, "Will you admit that they have written letters?" Yes. Will you admit that it's possibly because they're concerned they don't want them to have? Yes. See how I answered those? Yes or no?
And I have found that people don't necessarily understand that you are asking a question to build to a point. And that, like, I understand if you disagree with my point, fine. But just because I've asked one yes or no question, it is not necessarily me saying, well, okay, now that you've answered that, go off on your own tangent. And so I've got to be better at saying, okay, I've got a string of questions that I want to make a point. Can you humor me? Which is a yes or no. And then if you disagree with the framing or the point, we'll address it after. Do you think that X? Yes. Do you think that Y? No. So if you think X but not Y, then ABC. That's what Rob is trying to do. Establish an argument, premises, and a conclusion. But Devon is just taking each premise and turning it into its own debate.
Yes. Will you admit that it's possibly because they're concerned they don't want them to have? Yes. See how I answered those? Yes or no, and allowed you to string out your questions? Why
So
are you
you-
unwilling to do the same?
It's disrespectful. It's straight up disrespectful, and it shows that the person is not there in good faith. A person who's there in good faith is going to address what you are saying.
For me, why are you unwilling to give me the same courtesy I gave you?
You really got to calm down. This is a calm
don't tell me
conversation.
how to
You're
act.
acting.
Now we're on to tone policing. You can't answer a question, Devon. And all three of us are pissed off by that. But oh, calm down. Let me be an asshole and then and tell you to breathe and tell you that you're biased before you say anything. Just calm down, man. Calm down, man. Why are you so angry? It's such a low-brow tactic. Phil said Jack Smith's appointment was invalid because he was never confirmed by the Senate. So he was just like a rogue agent with access to federal resources. Kind of like anybody with that auto pen, right? Yikes. Hey, hit me up, girl.
Courtesy I gave you.
You really got to calm down. This is a calm
don't tell me
conversation.
how to
You're
act.
acting crazy, bro. You're acting
I'm
crazy.
asking you.
Relax.
I'm asking you. Don't tell me to relax. I'm asking you to give me the same.
I need to, because I also get, passionate, and there's different situations where, like, we were watching the guy with his anxiety pen. Put it one in the chat if you didn't see the anxiety pen thing. And we were talking about that, and so you'll have the Andrew Wilsons of the world be like, oh, you're spurging. Well, okay, sometimes yes, that is exactly what's happening. But to just use that because I'm frustrated with what's happening. But if I express any amount of emotion, hey, calm down, bro. You're going crazy here. Here it is. In case you missed it, our white dude for Harris, Dean Withers, I think his name is, does not vape. Don't get him angry.
I'm sorry that I have anxiety. Okay, and honestly, yeah, it is kind of the fault of people like you that want to come up here and bully and berate me over something that I don't do. Okay, so cut the shit. It's not a vape. All right, it's an anxiety pin. And God, the amount of times that I've asked you to respect me and respect my anxiety pin is at this point getting ridiculous.
So this is a situation. Yo, calm down. But addressing a point that's on the table in a passionate manner is not a reason. Calm down. It is a cheap tactic, and everybody can see through it.
Padilla, so please.
Justified crash out.
For the final and for the billionth time, will you please just respect the fact that it's not a vape and that it's an anxiety pin?
So yeah, that is a situation where you might want to say, calm down, you're spurging this, that, whatever. But just being in the conversation and engaging with what's being said, I'll fucking yell if I want to. No, I'm not going to calm down. How about that? Catch me outside.
I'm
asking you, don't tell me to relax. I'm asking you to give me the same courtesy
I wouldn't tell you if you didn't need it, bro. Listen, you asked the yes or no question. What was my honest answer? Do you remember what it was?
Your answer was yes after you changed your answer from no.
No, it was not. You don't remember what I said, and that's why you're angry.
Remember what you said.
What I said was what you had asked me. Was there a time where past administration has done like blah 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 blah? And I said, I'm not certain. No, that was essentially what I had said. Once you had said something, the reason why once you add context to it, my uncertainty goes away because I have more information. That's called being honest.
It's the answer, yes or no.
I gave you the answer, but what did you understand?
Again, even maybe Rob's stupid. Maybe Rob didn't understand the yes or no that you gave him. So when he asked you the question again, it's just one word. Why say I gave you the answer already? Well, you know what I mean. But 6 words instead of just saying yes. My answer was yes. Yeah, again, that is why we need to make sure that we are not the people hurting other people's heads. Don't hurt people's heads.
Text to it. My uncertainty goes away because I have more information. That's called being honest.
It's the answer, yes or no.
I gave you the answer, but what did you understand? When you described it,
your original answer was no, and then you changed it to yes. That's what I said. You said no. That's
no.
Not
my original answer was I was uncertain, and then you gave me information.
This is an unproductive conversation because you're
angry. I'm not being that.
Why is he angry, Demon? Why is he angry? Just having a bad day.
I'm frustrated at your blatant bad faithness.
No one is being bad faith.
You are being bad
faith.
Just
calm down.
You're being bad faith.
I'm not being bad faith.
You were asking me. If you tell me to relax one more time, you're out of here, and I'm never talking to you again. You can start your own show and then tone police people. You can tone police people on your own show. I don't give a fuck.
I'm not tone policing you.
I'm getting frustrated by your
bad
faith. I'm getting frustrated by your bad faith. Now I'm going to
I'm not doing that while he's talking. I'm not doing that. I'm just trying to do this, bro. It's either a tactic or a grave lack of self-awareness. I don't know which one it is, but it's certainly one of them.
I'm getting frustrated by your bad faith. I'm getting frustrated by your bad faith. Now, I'm going to explain what happened here. You asked me a string of questions, which I gave you yes-no questions, which were ridiculous in nature.
You said
if you can't stop interrupting, I'm going to have to let you go, right? These questions that you were asking me were designed to be like, well, if A exists, and I'm like, yeah, it exists, and B exists, yeah, well, then C could exist. And I'm like, I disagree. I don't think C could exist. Here's my reasons why. Well,
and that's what we've got to recognize and call out, because if we don't recognize it in the moment, it's easy to see when it's somebody else's debate. It's easy to see it when it's somebody else's debate. But when you're in the conversation, you're not, you're more focused on what's happening in the conversation, and to have the meta thinking to see, oh, this is passive aggressive. This is an ad hominem. This is a logical fallacy. That is what we're doing here, guys. That is what we're doing. And maybe, maybe this was just a bad example because Rob's so good at this. But I mean, that's what we're doing.
Let me play the same game. What I was going to do if you were good faith would be this. I would.
Indeed you are, but we love you anyway. Yeah, exactly. Yes or no? Well, one time in 5th grade. Like, just answer the question. Adam said, because you had a bad day. Yep.
Here's my reasons why. But let me play the same game. What I was going to do if you were good faith would be this. I would say, has there ever been a time when an administration went after someone for potential crimes in the other party? You would clearly say, of course that's happened. I'd say, okay. And would you admit that it's entirely possible that the reason they were doing that was because they legitimately thought crimes were occurring? And you would say, yes. And I'd say,
wait, hold on. I think I missed that. Give me
faith would be this. I would say, has there ever been a time when an administration went after someone for potential crimes in the other party?
Oh, okay. Yeah, obviously.
You would clearly say, of course that's happened. I'd say, okay. And would you admit that it's entirely possible that the reason they were doing that was because they legitimately thought crimes were occurring? And you would say, yes. And I'd say, therefore, the Chris Krebs memo could be because Trump legitimately thinks that Chris Krebs committed crimes. And you're going to say, well, I don't think so because of blah, blah, blah. And I would say, yes, that's exactly the argument that I'm making when it comes to these former intel officials. Yes, there have been times in the past where they have said, we don't recommend this particular policy. What I'm unaware of is them weighing in, particularly on the eve of an election, about a scandal and being incorrect about it. That's what I'm unaware of. I'm unaware of not just those two things happening together, but them weighing in on a political scandal. Not should we invade this country? Should we cut rates? Should we enter into a trade deal?
Not policy stuff. This is cultural stuff.
That's understandable that former officials will have opinions. But to weigh in, to put your thumb on the scale of an election and say, I don't believe this scandal is true, that's what seems unusual to me. And you're ignoring the circumstance by going, but isn't it true that they could write letters? Yes. And isn't it true they've written letters about things they would think would harm the country if they didn't speak up? Yes, I guess that could be true. Well, therefore, couldn't it be true that that's what they're doing here? No, I don't believe that. That's the point that I'm trying to make. I was trying, if you would have given me the same courtesy that I gave you, it would have illustrated to you, oh, I see why you're saying that you don't think my line of questioning leads to the conclusion that I'm trying to get to, because if you run that exact experiment in reverse about the Chris Krebs memo, I clearly would come to a different conclusion. But I can't do that because you're bad faith. Because you're like, well, no, I don't think that any administration ever has investigated an opponent. And then I have to be like, oh, fucking okay. So let's look at just the last administration. You're like, what?
What did the Biden administration do to Trump?
Blah, blah, blah. I guess the answer is yes, but no, I didn't say no. It's fucking ridiculous. Everyone listening knows it. That's why I'm raising my voice. I'm getting frustrated because it's like fucking pulling teeth because I'm able to clearly answer questions and you're incapable of it.
Bro, it's been like 2 minutes. Just, okay, let me answer you. When you say that I'm being bad faith, the reality of what actually happened.
So at this point, we're having the meta conversation. At this point, it's gone down to the level of, well, something went off the rails at some point. So we have to talk about the conversation that we're having in order to get it back on track. Something went wrong and we don't know what. So we have to retread our steps and see what happened and where was there a misunderstanding or any of those things. All of those things were addressed. He was recapping. All of that stuff is the conversation that we're listening to now. So it's not the other way around when we're talking about like the Gish Gallop where you throw out 30 different things. These things don't need to be addressed in this moment because of the conversation that already happened. This is the past of the conversation. I don't need to say, hey, Box, welcome to the party, because we've already done that. Next time, I'll do it again because it's a new party. But none of those points need to be addressed because they already were.
When you say that I'm being bad faith, the reality of what actually happened was that I said that I was uncertain because I hedged an answer based on my understanding of my knowledge of the situation. And then once you gave me information, I said, okay, the question here in my head and understandably requires more information for me to give you a yes or no question, or else I was just going to keep giving you, I don't know. And that would have been unsatisfying. So once you talked about the prior administration doing this, I asked you, okay, wait, are you talking about like the executive branch specifically? Or are we talking about the whole DOJ? Because I'm curious what we're trying to discuss. And then you aghast it, bro. I'm not being bad faith. I'm being very good faith. I don't think you trust people too much.
And well, I mean, you shouldn't trust anybody that much. And so that's the other side of it. If you're not being bad faith, then you're just not very good at having a conversation in the way that a good faith conversation is having. Bad faith implies some level of maliciousness, malice. whatever, that you're doing it on purpose. And so if your brain thinks that way, and something comes up, and then you're off on this topic, and off on this topic, and on that topic, then I mean, it's not technically bad faith. It's just bad.
Now, the reason was, even after that, I said, okay, now you say yes, now moving on. And you're like, wait. Let me explain myself. I said, no, I'm not interested in the explanation. I gave you the effort of just answering short and sweet so that you could make your line of argumentation. Will you give me the same courtesy? You said, no, I need to respond. I need to respond. But you already said, once you said, okay, yes, that's all I needed to hear, because everyone that's objectively in good faith would understand, of course, there's been times when sitting administration has investigated people from the other party for potential crimes. Of course that's happened.
Yes, and once I understood what you were talking about, and you asked a further question, like, you got to understand, there's going to be times where I'm going to ask you for clarification.
Okay, but then number one, if you're in a situation where you need to clarify public information, in which I often am because I don't read these details as much, but if you need to ask that, then you can't have this snarky attitude of like, well, when did that happen? Because that's not the same thing as like, when did that happen? Or I'm not sure if that was really the case, or something like that. The way that you present yourself matters. And I've seen so many people. This is not a left, right, up, down, religious, atheist thing. People are very, very bad at seeing their own flaws, and myself included. As we do this, and as I record myself doing this stuff, I'm trying to get better at my flaws, and that is a big one that I think everybody, at least the type of person that wants to do a debate like this, it's a very common thing. And so you need to be aware of it, and you need to try and fix it. Otherwise, it's not going to be fun to talk to you.
And you ask for the question, like, you got to understand, there's going to be times where I'm going to ask you for clarification before I blanket agree to something. That's
right. And so how do I tell the difference between when you're asking for clarification and when you're trying to ask a gotcha question?
The best fit.
And once more,
because that's an honest conversation.
And once more, that's not the criticism I'm making. I thought that the ask for clarification. I think we're talking past each other. Maybe I should disagree. I thought that the ask for clarification was ridiculous because it was such an easy yes. But fine, we got past through the clarification and you got to yes. I was like, great, we got the yes. Can we move on? You then at that point, it had nothing to do with clarifying my question. You refused to leave the answer just be yes. You said, no. I have to keep going. I said, okay, you said yes. Why can't we just move to the next point?
Right,
that's
Rob,
the courtesy. Let me finish. Yeah. That's the courtesy I gave you. You started saying, oh, you're yelling. No, you tell me what my answer was. I said, your answer was initially no, then you said yes. You said, no, that wasn't it. Then you had to re-explain yourself for 2 minutes. And I'm like, whatever, the answer is yes now. Can we move on? No, I need to keep explaining. It was clarifications, blah, blah, blah. That's my criticism. The clarification point of this was done.
So if I'm Rob here, we're looking back, I would have been like, I wish I had said, because of the fact that we agree on this, yes, the other stuff is not relevant to the point I'm making. So let me finish making this point, and then you can jump back to that if you need to. That and like I said, it's difficult in these moments to be able to not only think about the conversation that you're having, but how the conversation is structured. And it's easy for me to sit here, not like I was just saying to you guys. It's easy for me to sit here and say that, but that's what we're doing.
It was clarifications, blah, blah, blah. That's my criticism. The clarification point of this was done. You said yes. I was willing to move on with your answer being yes. You would not let me move on. That's the problem.
Bro, you know what? Say what you want about you, but you're pretty entertaining, man. I'm laughing right now. This is a good time. However,
you're frustrated.
Bro, I think we talked past each other. I don't think you comprehended what I'm saying, but that's okay because I
do comprehend what you're saying. I'll steelman your argument. Actually, there's a solid chance.
You just tried, but
I'll steelman it.
I don't care.
I'll steelman your argument.
And so again, if we have a situation where we're talking past each other and someone offers to steelman and you think that they're wrong, let them give you the wrong steelman so then you can clarify. Because not only is that an opportunity to reset and get back on track, but it is an opportunity to see specifically where is the disconnect. If I said I love my dog because he's been with me through everything, and then we go on talking this, that, and that, whatever, and the other person said, "Let me steelman you." You said that you love Morty because he's got black hair. You'd be like, whoa. Okay, that's where the misunderstanding is. That's not the reason that I love Morty. And then we can continue the conversation from there. So if somebody is asking to steelman, that is the most good faith thing that you can do.
Actually, there's a
No,
solid
you
chance.
You just tried, but
I'll
you
steel
got it
man.
wrong. But I don't care.
I'll steel man your argument right now. You tell me where I'm wrong. Actually, these 52 former Intel officials, there have been times in the past when Intel officials have spoken up when they thought that there was something that was dangerous to the United States and it was worth speaking up. And because they saw Russian interference in the 2016 election, they were hyper-focused on that potentially swinging the 2020 election. And so they spoke up because they saw hallmarks in the Hunter Biden laptop story of what may have been Russian disinformation. That's why they spoke up, not because they were trying to help the Bidens or harm Trump. They spoke up because they legitimately thought that this was a potential effort by Russia to interfere in the election.
Okay, for sure. But
Okay, so then that's the steel man. So either you say, yes, that is my point, or no, that's not my point, and here's where you were off track. And we're just going to blow right by it.
Legitimately thought that this was a potential effort by Russia to interfere in the election.
Okay, for sure. But I want to be clear that I don't misunderstand your answer either and your reasoning. It seems that you just don't think that that's the reason why they did that. You think that this specific, them writing these 50 intel agents, officers writing this letter is unique from the other cases because
It is.
the other cases are more policy based and they're more like, oh,
correct.
Okay, they're trying to put their thumb on the, or trying to offer suggestions for policy.
Yes.
You think that this one is specific because it's unique from all of the other ones, given the fact that it has to do with targeting or like exonerating basically one political party and more so throwing another one under the bus. I understand that you think that that's unique. We agree. I agree with how you feel and how I feel. But what I'm trying to say and what I was trying to move on to was the fact that I think that you feel that this one is particularly unique.
You've said that 3 times now.
As opposed to some of the other ones, which are all unique from each other, because it involves something that I think that you care about. The politicization of the government and something that, them attacking Trump. I think
that is so irrelevant. So he's basically saying, well, you're saying this one is unique, but they're all unique. Well, then the claim that this is unique is accurate. We're not talking about the other things that didn't matter. We're having a conversation about the letter with the 50 former intelligence agencies, and that was unique in a specific way where it was the eve of an election, so on and so on and so on. So what's the issue? Just because other letters have also been unique doesn't mean, what are you saying?
Politicization of the government and something that, them attacking Trump. I think that you are looking more at the details of this one and what makes it unique, rather than if we were to go through all of these and look at the unique attributes of each of them. My argument is just
they're irrelevant. Those are irrelevant. Unless you can, because you're saying unique. But if Devon is saying they're all unique in a certain way, and there's other letters like this that fit the category that you're talking about, then let's talk about that letter. But you're just talking vagaries. Well, I think that you think this, but not that.
All of these are unique.
That's not okay.
So then this one, we agree, is unique.
One, I've been talking about the circumstantial evidence. I haven't even got to the most specific evidence yet, which I'll get to here in a second. But I think that the circumstantial evidence that I was talking about, that none of these officials, none of them spoke up about the disinformation that harmed Trump in 2016. And so many of them spoke up against what they claimed was the hallmarks of disinformation this time. And they were wrong in both accounts and in both accounts that harmed Trump. And I'm unaware of this ever happening in history where they weighed in on a political scandal story like this. However, the direct evidence, Anthony Blinken, who was a senior advisor to Biden's 2020 campaign, contacted Michael Morrell and other signatories of that letter and asked them to sign that letter. And Michael Morrell testified in front of the House Judiciary Committee that one of the purposes for that was to, quote, give Biden a talking point in the debate. So now we have evidence testimony that someone directly from Biden's team reached out to these former officials and said, we need a talking point. We know this story's broke and it's going to hurt Biden in the debate. Could you give us a talking point to help us? If your argument's true that this wasn't to weigh in on politics and it wasn't to help one political side or the other, why did Biden's team reach out and request their signatures, which they then got?
Adam said Devon should be renamed to Dion. Oh, my goodness. Dilly. That's a good one.
Side or the other. Why did Biden's team reach out and request their signatures, which they then got?
If that is true, then my argument wouldn't hold weight. Can you show me
exactly?
Can you show me where that had happened? Like,
yes. Yes. Let me find it.
So I think they're.
Let's see here.
I think they take a minute here to find exactly what.
Yeah, I can see it now.
Okay. This is from CBS and Catherine Herridge in May 10th, 2023.
Whoa,
64
buddy, the
page.
mainstream media? That's crazy.
He did the exact same thing when he was on my channel. Like, the point of using the mainstream media is so that you're not saying, "Oh, this is a source biased in your direction or in your direction." We all hate the mainstream media, so we use the mainstream media because that is an equal playing ground. He did the exact same fucking thing.
And Catherine Herridge in May 10th, 2023.
Whoa,
64
buddy, the
page.
mainstream media? That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, I knew you wouldn't accept anything else, right?
I don't really read
this,
the news or watch the news.
in the final weeks of the 2020 campaign, 51 former top Intel officials signed a letter saying that the alleged contents of Hunter Biden laptop had all the classic earmarks of Russian disinformation. The statement was allegedly designed to aid Joe Biden's presidential candidacy.
Rob, come on. When you're reading, you got to slow down.
Laptop had all the classic earmarks of Russian disinformation. The statement was allegedly designed to aid Joe Biden's presidential candidacy, and its dissemination was coordinated through the Biden campaign, including to an interim report by the GOP House-led Judiciary Committee. The 64 report reviewed by CBS states that the House investigators wrote to all 51 of the former officials requesting relevant documents and testimony. The report contains portions of witness interviews. The report maintains that the emails at the time from former Intel officials, including former acting CIA director Michael Morrell, former CBS News contributor, show that the statement was meant to help candidate Biden in the final weeks of the 2020 campaign. After the New York Post first reported on the alleged son's laptop, information on the computer came into possession of a Delaware computer repair owner. According to the GOP report, contemporaneous emails show the organizers' intent in drafting and releasing the statement. We think Trump will attack Biden on the issue at this week's debate, and we want to offer perspectives on this from Russia watchers and other seasoned experts, and we want to give the vice president a talking point to use in response.
So in case you missed that last part, according to the GOP report, contemporaneous emails show the organizers' intent in drafting and releasing a statement. Quote, we think Trump will attack Biden on the issue at this week's debate, and we want to offer perspectives on this from Russia watchers and other seasoned experts, and we want to give the vice president a talking point to use in response.
During the debate on October 22nd, 2020, in response to Trump's taunts, if the laptop from hell, Biden pushed back. There were 50 former national Intel folks who said that he accused me of Russian plans. They've said this has all the characteristics. 4 or 5 former heads of the CIA, both parties were saying a bunch of garbage. Nobody believes him except his friend Rudy Giuliani. So they have the actual emails and testimony from people like Michael Morrell saying, yes, we were reached out to and said, hey, we want you to give us talking points that says that this could come from Russia so that Biden could push back in the debate.
Yup. Liberty Plus said, the truth is nobody cares if the president is a good person. People want politicians to do their dirty work. And I think that is something that I don't necessarily want to say on the right, but at least within MAGA, there's no attempt to pretend that this isn't the case. Like, it seems like, oh, well, he said a naughty word. Oh, he's a mean guy. It's like, great, then don't go fucking hang out with him. That's not what we're electing. We're not electing a friend. We're electing a leader. Is it right here? Yeah, I was just saying, I watched a video from Actual Justice Warrior about it was entitled Trump's Iran Plan Worked. And, it's so far, but basically he was talking about the Dave Smith thing where he's like, he should be impeached over this. And then the Hodge twins that had one pro-war post on Facebook and one anti-war post on X. And so I was just like, I was definitely unhappy with the Iran rhetoric, the same way I was unhappy with the North Korea rhetoric. But I was wrong. I've used this example before, but I felt like Trump slipped on a banana peel and accidentally did a backflip with North Korea. I thought he stepped on a banana peel again with Iran, and again, he's landed on his feet. How many times should I see him step on a banana peel, do a perfect backflip, before I just accept that, I guess he can do a backflip? Hey, shout out to Matthew King. Welcome to the party. Said, I don't want a president I would have a beer with. I want a president the rest of the world either fears or respects. Hell yeah. Why is that video ridiculous? Let's talk about it. Why is that ridiculous?
We want you to give us talking points that says that this could come from Russia so that Biden could push back in the debate. Sufficient for you?
So no. Because unlike most people, I wouldn't use a news article just to substantiate that. The letters that the emails that they're talking about, I would need to actually see those in order to be certain.
Okay.
Because,
It's just like it's a never ending. Well, I have to see that. I have to see that. I have to see that. I'd have to see that. And it's like, why? I get that if you have if you have a reason to think that, oh, this doesn't seem right because of that, that's one thing. But just constantly going, well, I need to see exactly the person said, yes, I lied and wanted to do wrong. It's like, life isn't that simple, bro. And you take this high-minded, well, we don't have the evidence, so, it's a cop-out.
We'll see. And so,
And also the other thing I wanna say, a lot of people like they do this thing where they'll cite what the GOP said, what the Democrats said about. Bro, Congress is crazy. I don't trust a word that any of them say about each other. They're obviously going to say certain things. So if a GOP-led investigation produces the actual receipts, I'll look at those, but I'm not going to take them at face value or an ABC article. Which isn't to say this isn't a start.
Yeah. Adam said Trump slipped on the banana with him calling for America to save Bibi Netanyahu. I agree, and I'm not happy with any of that. But the fact that we are, at least so far, not in World War III means that whatever deal that he was trying to make with the ceasefire, it worked. Is it going to hold? That's a whole other question. But it worked, and that doesn't mean that I like this. It just means that my not liking this because I thought it was going to get us into World War III was inaccurate, at least for now. Liberty Plus TV. So this guy thinks that talking like a smart person makes him a smart person. Very liberal. Actually, that's not true. That happens all over the place. But Todd said I have not cast my ballot since the 80s because that shit don't matter. Yeah, I'm with Box on this one. I'm gonna take them if it may not do much, but it definitely doesn't do nothing.
Face value or an ABC article. Which isn't to say this isn't a start.
This is, what's this from? This is from Fox. Let's see.
And so, like, the reason to clarify a little bit more, like, I would need to see the actual emails. You must then think that Rob has not taken the time to verify any of this information, because if it says it there and Rob is aware of that and could pull that up, there's at least some legitimacy to it. Now, if you have other information that said, well, go look at the emails, and the article doesn't match the email, now we're in a different place. But you're just grasping for straws. You asked for an article, you got an article. You got the article, now you want the email. Now you got the email, now you want the email from this person. Moving the goalpost.
This is, what's this from? This is from Fox. Let's see. What's this from? April. Let's see if I get the dates right in this. May. No, that's not going to help. All right. So now you want me. So you're just writing this up. You're saying, nope, it's not enough that this was reported on. Now we need to see the actual, most of them, which will be classified documents from the
source. Shout out to Box with the $5 make you holler. Thank you so much. Of course, a treat for Morty. He's so lazy, bro. Get the treat. Get it. There you go. I literally had to tap his nose. He's so lazy. And it's not because they don't like it. Bog said, I vote left, right, and center. Most of the time, I'm voting incumbents out. Love it. Isn't this obviously the best Isn't this the best live streamer on YouTube? No, because then I think all of you would be like, I'm gay now. Shout out again to Box. Thank you so very, very much. Of course, that makes you the new co-sponsor of the stream with Arrow. Guys, remember, Morty gets his peanut butter if we get 15 supers of any amount or donations anywhere. 15 donations of any amount or a total of $50. We are 2 out of 15 and 10 out of 50. Let's make it happen. Matthew said, if he said, I haven't seen that, but if that's the case, then goes on to opine on the issue, that's cool. But if it's a way to avoid the issue, then that's crap. Bingo. Beautifully said. Completely agree. Hey, shout out to TV Viewerski. Welcome to the party. Said, where's the rowdy table? What you mean? Huh? Well, that made so little sense that I think We need to take a little break. If you guys are enjoying the show, the party rages on 24/7 over in our Discord. The link is pinned to the top of the chat and is absolutely free to join 24/7. We're in there hanging out, having a great time. And guys, it is absolutely free. However, if you are a member of this channel here on YouTube, you can scroll right below that video and hit that join button. Starts at $2.99. There's a few different tiers, but $2.99 will get you in. It gets you members only live streams here on YouTube, all that other good stuff. But it opens up the full Discord server. So we've got the free chat that is open to anyone. Anybody can join and talk. But as you can see, that is just one of our channels. There's a bunch of different channels here, including our Disciple chat for members only, our Word of the Day watch party, where we're talking about all this stuff. And of course, we have the voice channel here, where we are hanging out at this
After
moment.
party.
Shout out to everybody in the Discord server. Say hello and tell them to come and join. There you go, guys. Simple as that. See you there. And remember, guys, all of that stuff besides the free chat is for members only, so you can join for free and you get the free chat channel. Become a member to get all the rest of that stuff, including the after party. But if you join that free chat before the stream is over, you get a full day pass to the entire server. Come on through.
Now we need to see the actual, most of them, which will be classified documents from the congressional hearing. Then you'll accept it. Okay. So
No,
Well, no, even then, we're like, well, he could have said this because of that, and that.
hold on. Let
Let's
me answer
see if I
that.
can
There's
find it.
no. Hold on. Let me clarify so there's no confusion about what I said. I'm not writing it off. I explicitly said this is a start. It's just that when I'm actually looking for definitive evidence on a thing, I would stop short of just believing an article alone. People call themselves skeptics. I'm more of a skeptic than a lot of people actually.
No, you're a contrarian. There's a difference between skepticism and contrarianism.
When it
I
comes
disagree
to
with that. You're not skeptical at all. You have selective skepticism. When it harms Donald Trump, your skepticism goes out the window. When it benefits Trump, then you're very skeptical.
Oh, that's interesting. I don't think so. But
You've made many claims. You've made
I didn't really
many
make much claims. We didn't really talk about too much. Like we talked about like
Made a bunch of claims when you talked to me, and I agree with absolutely everything Rob has said.
one major thing, and even then, I was just asking for clarification. I was looking for evidence. That's all I was doing.
Oh, well, then you found it, baby. We at the rowdy table. There we go. Maybe that's what we'll start calling the Friday shows, the rowdy table.
I didn't come to any like definitive conclusion.
So here is from the House Judiciary, right? I'm putting it up on the screen. This is directly from the House Judiciary Committee. New testimony reveals Secretary Blinken and Biden campaign behind infamous public statement on the Hunter Biden laptop. Chairman Jordan and Turner demand documents communications from Blinken. New testimony by Michael Morrell, a former deputy director at the CIA and one of the 51 signatories of the public statement in the Hunter Biden emails, revealed that U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, then senior advisor to the Biden campaign, was the impetus for the public statement signed on October 20 that falsely implied the New York Post reporting about the Hunter Biden product was Russian disinformation. In response, House Judiciary Chairman Jim Jordan and House Intelligence Committee Mike Turner sent a letter to Secretary Blinken demanding documents. Background: on October 14, 2020, New York Post published a story. Within 5 days, 51 former intel officials signed a public statement. New information. The committee's recently conducted transcribed interview with Michael Morrell, a former deputy director of the CIA and one of 51 signatories
That was Mike TV, not TV Mike.
of the public statement. In his transcribed interview, Morrell testified that on or around October 17, 2020, Blinken served as a senior advisor to the Biden campaign and reached out to him to discuss the Hunter Biden laptop story. According to Morrell, although your outreach was couched as simply gathering Morrell's reaction to the Post story, it set in motion the events that led to the issuance of the public statement. That same day, October 17th, Blinken also emailed Morrell an article published by USA Today alleging that the FBI was examining whether the Hunter Biden laptop was part of a disinformation campaign. The very bottom of the email he sent to Morrell included the signature block of Andrew Bates, then director of the Rapid Response for Biden campaign.
Much better reading, Rob. Much better.
Morrell testified that his communication with Blinken was one of the few communications he had with the Biden campaign, explaining that he also received a call from Steve Ricchetti, chairman of the Biden campaign, following the October 22nd debate, to thank him for writing the statement. Morrell also explained that the Biden campaign helped to strategize about the public release of the statement. Morrell further explained that one of his two goals in releasing the statement was to help then Vice President Biden in the debate and to assist him in winning the election.
Oh, so exactly like the article said. Shout out to the viewerski with the $10 PayPal, getting us up there in our goal. Of course, a treat for Lazy Morty. Yummy, yummy, yummy. There you go. And of course, sir, that makes you the new sponsor of the stream. Thank you, thank you, thank you so very, very much. That is 3 out of 15, guys. We are 1/5 of the way there. 99 cents counts. Whether you go through PayPal, Venmo, Super Chat, Rumble Rant, any of those things, they all count. Let's get Morty his peanut butter. Thank you, thank you, thank you so very, very much, sir. Yeah. Madison, how does anybody in the political orbit still not know about the laptop and the scandal that went with it? It's not that he doesn't know. It's that he believes that he has a different understanding than reality.
Releasing the statement was to help then Vice President Biden in the debate and to assist him in winning the election. Based on Morell's testimony, it's apparent that the Biden campaign played an active role in the origins of the public statement, which had the effect of helping suppress the Hunter Biden laptop story and preventing American citizens from making a poorly informed decision. So that's directly from the House Judiciary Committee.
All right, let's see if he accepts it or, well, no, I need another level of source.
Is that good enough for you?
Yeah, remember what I said before about Congress?
Hey, yeah, right. Dilly to Davon. And so again, going down that road is saying that between your knowledge of this and the article that we read, I still have enough cynicism that I need to find something even more substantial. And again, finding sources and making sure that what you're saying is correct is important. But when used like this, exactly as Matt said before, yeah, right. As Matthew said before, or not that one. What was it? But it's just, yeah, it's a cop out. Yeah, I said I haven't seen that, but if that's the case, then it goes on to opine on the issue, then cool. But if it's a way to avoid the issue, then that's crap. Indeed. Matthew said, the idiots think she bleached her emails. No, morons. We know she used a program called Bleach to erase everything. That was Snopes, right? That was saying, no, false. She did not pour bleach on her thing. Like, semantic obfuscation.
Is that good enough for you?
Yeah, remember what I said before about Congress? I'm looking for the actual emails that they're talking about.
So
it wasn't good enough.
So now an official document saying we looked at his testimony.
Come on, bro. Like, so you think what is the skepticism of what you just heard and read? You just don't want it to be true. There's no actual reason that you think that's not verified. You just don't like it because you would take an article, you would take I don't exactly know what type of release that was that they last read, but you would take that for something to do with trans rights or Trump's guilt, 34 felonies. It's selective, no principles, just positions.
Testimony, that's not enough.
I don't think
document saying we looked at his testimony, that's not enough.
I don't think that you disagree with this. Do you think that it's possible that if you hear something from the Democrats and they're reporting on like something that Trump did or something like that alone, that would be enough evidence? Or would you want to see the actual receipts? Come on.
But we just showed it to you.
How many times do we get to see actual closed-door testimony? As Michael Morell, this is common knowledge. It's not been disputed. Michael Morell hasn't said this isn't the case.
Didn't Blinken testify against this? So it's like there's two conflicting stories here, right?
Okay, so then bring that up. Why haven't you talked about Blinken refuting that? It sounds to me, and I could be very wrong here, both of these gentlemen know a lot more of the details than I do. But it seems like now that you've got that level of sourcing, you're just moving the goalpost again.
Against this, so it's like there's two conflicting stories here, right?
Because yeah, when we brought up the ABC article, you've been like, "Oh, I know about that." Blinken testified against it, but you didn't say that.
Blinken testify against this, so it's like there's two conflicting stories here, right? If there's two conflicting stories from both parties, I'm not going to listen to either of them. I'm going to look for like source data, and if I can't get it, I'm not going to come to a conclusion about something. Like I don't trust politicians, bro.
Info said, actual evidence. Do you mean like the actual files off of a hard drive? Actual pictures of Hunter Biden doing crack? Actual documents that say the big guy gets 10%? No. I need an actual official document on White House stationery that says I, Joe Biden, have seen my son's penis, and that was after I was showering with him at 13 years old. Oh! Now, evidence and proof are not the same thing. Evidence and proof are not the same thing. Devon was just given a mound of evidence. What he is asking for is proof. And because the proof doesn't exist, well, then I don't have to listen to anything. That's the disingenuous nature of this.
If I can't get it, I'm not going to come to a conclusion about something. Like, I don't trust politicians, bro.
Okay, 1 second.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, Jesus. What do we got now?
Substantial evidence.
Asking for receipts.
The hoops that I have to jump through.
This isn't hoops. This is me asking for receipts.
It's not.
But you got 3 already.
There's the circumstantial evidence already showed for reasons we went through. Then when I have actual congressional House like stories that reported this, then you're like, nope, just the news isn't enough. Then I go to the actual House Judiciary Committee that says this was directly what the testimony was. Nope, I need to see the exact words and transcription.
It's not enough that he has the exact that Gilmore Abrego Garcia has the actual tattoos that all the experts say are from MS-13, and we know that he was in a gang in his homeland, and he has all that stuff. It needs to say MS-13. Otherwise, we can never know. We can never know. Well, good. That's the point. That's the point. It's not supposed to be fun. Go through the fucking process.
Says this was directly what the testimony was. Nope, I need to see the exact words and transcription. And that's where we're at now.
No, you showed me the House Judiciary Committee saying that there was an email that stated that like Anthony actually had ordered this. Like, if there's facts of the matter.
Well, then why would you expect that the Democratic politicians then on your side wouldn't call that out and say, no, I've seen the emails and that's not what it says?
That Anthony had ordered this, I'm cool with admitting that. But I genuinely just don't believe politicians. If a politician from one party says something about another, I'm not gonna take it at face value. I just like receipts. There's nothing wrong with that. That's the best faith that you can get, bro. And I feel like you probably
Is it though?
be able to relate as someone who, is a populist in a sense.
It's horseshit.
Bach said, Mr. Garcia, his fatal flaw was telling a court that he didn't want to be deported to his home country. I suspect he regrets that move. Why was that his fatal flaw? Genuinely asking, not challenging you.
Valid.
So I just want to ask you, all of this stuff, have you seen all the stuff you're going to complain about Trump? You have seen the official transcript, not
there
just talking points from.
There you go. There you go. I feel stupid for not thinking about I mean, I kind of did just bring it up, but I feel stupid for not bringing it up earlier. You're like, okay, if we're gonna have this level of skepticism with these documents, then let's talk about trans stuff. Let's talk about COVID. Let's talk about all of that, because now you've opened up the door to the legitimacy of these sources. And so you trusted all of them when it helped your case, but now you won't accept it. This is dogma. This is dogma. Anyway, said, I wonder if he believed Congressman Schiff every week when he came out of top secret meetings saying, oh, I've seen the evidence that Trump is a Russian spy over and over and over and over. Yep. I bet you he did. I bet you.
You've seen all the stuff you're going to complain about Trump. You have seen the official transcribed, not just talking points from Democrats. Everything that you complain about Trump, you've seen official transcribed documents, not what the Democrats said about it, not what Democrat committee said. Same with the January 6th committee. You're not just listening to what the Democrat-led January 6th committee. You're only yourself before you make any decisions. Your threshold of evidence is, I need to see the original source.
You have to take the L here, Devon. You cannot say yes to this. You cannot say yes to this. Take the L.
And if it's classified, if we're unable to see it, I can't have an opinion on whether or not it existed or not, because only when I see the original transcribed interview, the original emails, am I able to make a conclusion. That's your argument. I'm bingo. Correct?
No. Let me explain.
No. no principles, because that would be the principle. Most people are not as skeptical as me. That would be the principle. That you need to see the actual documents. But now it doesn't really matter.
Able to make the conclusion. That's your argument. I'm correct.
No. Let me explain it quickly. You explained a great deal of it. Basically, when I'm getting information on something, I like to know for certain that I can source it back to its original claim. When it comes to claims about Trump from Democrats,
I just believe him because I hate that guy.
I do not believe them from Democrats immediately because I know that they are Democrats. They're going to say the exact opposite. So as far down as I can get to the truth, I'm going to stop there.
But then you wouldn't believe. So I mean, we can go down the list of fake news that you believed and that you pushed. All of this stuff. What did you see that nobody else in the world saw?
If I stop there and it's still not source material, then I'm going to either withhold an opinion without enough evidence surrounding it, or I'm just going to disregard it altogether and not even use that argument because it's not something that I could objectively say is the case. That's my argument.
All right, so I have this here.
More receipts. He's asking for receipts, and Rob is bringing the receipts. So Bach said that Kilmar's fatal flaw was asking not to go back to his home country, and asked why. Bach said he could have just been deported if he had not lied on his asylum hearing. He had to give a reason and got extra. Special do not send there treatment because of his own testimony. If he had not asked to be sent back based on gang activity, he could have just gone home again without all the fuss. Oh, so he told the truth for once. I don't know about you, but I don't consider telling the truth a flaw.
I don't believe you. You're full of shit, and this is
See, that's the
exactly.
thing. Hold on, here's the problem. Hold on, I just really want to explain something.
I don't believe you. Your threshold for your standard of evidence. Your threshold for your standard of evidence is bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. Your threshold for your standard of evidence is absolutely bullshit. You have a double standard when it comes to evidence that helps Trump versus harms Trump. It's clear for everyone to see.
They all did. When you come into a country illegally, you brought it on yourself when you get deported.
And I'll provide more and more evidence, which you'll continue to say it's not enough, it's not enough, it's not enough. And inevitably, I provide you evidence that would be enough to say it's enough. You'll be like, it wasn't that big of a deal anyways. This argument didn't really matter.
Rob, my best friend in the world. Can I explain something to you? And I don't mean this in the meanest way. I feel like
I don't mean this in the meanest way. So you're about to say something that an asshole would say. Let's see. Dilly, if I'm right.
Can I explain something to you? And I don't mean this in the meanest way. I feel like you start off with the belief that everyone's bad faith and bias. And I think that clouds your ability to have a genuine conversation about the facts in these things.
This is so funny. This is like when, if I'm talking to a Christian and having a debate about Christianity or God or whatever. It's just, well, you think that all Christians is... No, honey. It's you who thinks that all atheists X, Y, and Z. Projection. Was it not you, Devon, earlier in this conversation that said, well, I'll answer, but I don't think you'll accept it because you're biased? Rob is saying that after you have demonstrated your bias, not before. So we got the dilly for that and dilly for the fact that I was right.
That everyone's bad faith and bias. And I think that clouds your ability to have a genuine conversation about the facts in these things when someone's coming to you in good faith.
It's like, no, I just think you're in bad faith.
Because it doesn't matter. It just sounds like no matter what I do, you're just going to say, I don't believe you. So then at that point.
Right. Because you're not here in good faith.
Where do we go with the conversation if you're just going to say, I don't believe you? Like, what are we doing, man?
Mm-hmm.
In another world, we would be best friends, okay?
I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
What is that fucking gay shit? Oh, wait, best friend, bestie.
All right.
I don't believe you.
All right, then I can literally say anything this entire conversation, and it won't matter because you don't believe whatever I say.
Correct. That is the bed you have made for yourself. That is the bed you have made for yourself. That means you have no credibility. That does not mean that Rob thinks everybody in the world is bad faith.
Literally
That's true.
lied this whole time now.
That's true. I don't believe you.
So what's the point of that?
Well, okay, we'll see you later.
No, man, let's not do that. Let's just.
So then what are you asking? Well, there's no point in anything that I'm going to say. Okay, well then, does that mean you want to end the conversation? No? Then what the fuck are we saying?
What's the point of that?
Well, okay, we'll see you later.
Because he's standing on business. I don't trust you. I don't think you're here in good faith, and I don't trust your standard of evidence. That's it. So if we can't get past that, then I'm happy to end the conversation. But I was like, no, please don't kick me out. Please don't. No.
True. I don't believe you.
So what's the point of that?
Well, okay, we'll see you later.
No, man, let's not do that. Let's just engage in good faith. And like, if you say something, I'm gonna believe you at face value. And if I say something,
I don't believe you.
He did not just say that. He did not just say that. You guys heard what I heard, right? There is no way this man just said this out loud. Let's listen to it again.
Yeah, let's just engage in good faith. And like, if you say something,
I'm
gonna believe you at face value.
I'm gonna believe you at face value. Will you no? As you've just demonstrated. Not only you won't take it at face value, which fair enough. Don't just take shit at face value because somebody said something. But we brought up an article. Then we went to a further source from the article. Then we brought up another source that confirmed what we've been saying the entire time. But yeah, if you say something, I'm just going to take it at face value. Okay, dude. I mean, okay. Anyway, said, and then and before I get to this, that is what I meant when I was like, okay, maybe he's not like being bad faith in the sense that he's trying to win or whatever. But if that's the case, if you think that you're taking what he says at face value, you either don't know what those words mean or you are lacking a grave lacking of self-awareness. We just spent, let's see how long it's been since this came, the first article came up. So the first article came up around 1:42. It is now 10 minutes later. 10 minutes later. They were already talking about it. 10 full minutes of their conversation. Source after source after source after source after source. If you say something, I'm going to believe you at face value. I don't even know what to say. Anyway, said dude starts bringing actual documents and receipts. The other guys was like, oh yeah, I don't think this is in good faith. He's trying to prepare his exit. Wouldn't be the first time. Ty said, I'm a pasty white broad who was a minority among Pacific Islanders. I was called Haole, which translates to no breath, no spirit. God damn. That's mean. Locke said, you have 1 year to file for asylum. I'm not calling him Mr. Garcia was in the U.S. 2012-ish, and he filed 2019-ish. That is not 1 year. Then he said, lied and said, gangs, he can't go back. Well, okay. What again, genuine question. What makes you think that he's lying about the I believe it was the Barrio gang, right? That was his issue. That the Barrio gang, you know, a rival to MS-13. He was afraid of them. No. Asylum means sanctuary. There's no sanctuary here. Well, that depends on what state you're in. That depends on what state you're in.
Oh man, let's not do that. Let's just engage in good faith. And like, if you say something, I'm gonna believe you at face value. And if I say something,
I don't believe you.
How about that?
I do not believe you.
Okay, that's fine. But you just pulled up something that might be evidence. You can sway me. What is this anyway?
Well, then don't be in a gang and go to a different country and not follow the rules. Like, I mean, if your life is that dangerous and you know, like, okay, I mean, obviously he was here before this presidential, what the fuck, this presidency. But like, why would you not go to like Canada or fucking some European nation that just fucking lets everybody in? Why America? Why America? I mean, obviously America's better, but in terms of success on staying here and not getting in trouble for doing that stuff, it doesn't sound like a smart move. Good question. I don't know. People do not leave Seacott alive. He said, gang, his own testimony, which is why we believe that he is an MS-13. Because why would you say that if you weren't? Like, I mean, obviously, if we have reason to believe that he was in the gang and he said he's not in the gang, there's a reason why you would make that lie. But if you're not in a gang, why would you lie and say that you are in a gang when you know you're here illegally if you're not in a gang? If he had just said he would leave, he would be at home with his kids right now. Probably true. Yeah, right? And like, they're liberal as fuck over there. They don't have a Trump up there. No, nobody's coming to look for you in Canada.
Might be evidence. You can sway me.
Can we though? Because that's what we've been doing for the last 10 minutes, and you have not been swayed.
What is this anyway? Like, what are we looking at on the screen?
It's sort of one of the emails from Michael Morrell that was released in the Freedom of Information Act. It says, "Good morning. I hope everyone had a nice day." Attaches a statement that Mark and I drafted that many former and senior working level officials across the IC will sign, and then it will be made public. We're 100% confident.
We don't know what you're saying. Okay. The email says, "Good morning. Hope everyone had a nice weekend." Attached is a statement that Mark and I, I forget, Michael Morrell. Okay, so attached is a statement that Mark and I drafted that many former senior and working level officials from across the intelligence community will sign and then be made public. We are 100% confident it does not contain classified information. Indeed, it specifically says we don't know what the intelligence community or the FBI knows about this. This is a rush job as it needs to get out as soon as possible. Thank you.
But it's not contain classified information. Indeed, it specifically says we don't know what the IC or FBI knows. This is a rush job, but it needs to get out as soon as possible. Thank you very much. That was sent to the CIA, I believe someone at the CIA, which then they rushed along in 6 hours. Wasn't the document that will serve any sort of proof to you because your standards of proof are fucking unreasonable.
Well, yo, no, could you actually send that to me?
Please. No, I can't send you shit. You could look it up for yourself. I don't give a fuck.
It's not my job to educate you. Oh my God.
Standards are unreasonable. I'm going to find the documents that say this, and then I'm going to prove to you that it exists. If I can find those documents, whether it be the actual transcript of Morrell's testimony or him publicly being interviewed from a media source saying this is true, and when I find,
this is the comment of the night. You can't remember. That's a wild life. That's a wild life. Adam said, "I will debate you and beat you every time by bringing you down to my level." That seems to be a very popular tactic.
I'm kicking you and never talking to you again. You can talk about you fucking
what?
If I can find those documents, whether it be the actual transcript of Morrell's testimony or him publicly being interviewed from a media source saying this is true, and when I find it, I'm kicking you and never talking to you again. You can talk all you fucking want until then.
This is so wild. Like,
this is so wild. I'm being here in bad faith and not accepting the evidence after I just said I'll take whatever you say at face value. And it's really frustrating to you, but it's wild that you don't want to have this conversation. And then the next thing is, oh, you're running. Like EBT, right? EBT. Oh, you're scared. You're scared of me.
I thought we were getting along, to be honest. I thought we were getting close.
You could think that's fun.
Bro, come on. Just real man to man real quick. You
man to man. We need 2 men for that. Just kidding. That's low blow. I'm just kidding, Devon.
I don't think you understand, bro. You make a lot of good points, right? And I understand your position, where you're coming from and why you're worried about certain things. As someone who does think, yeah, the Democrats can go too far, as someone who doesn't necessarily trust resources, as someone who thinks that all my life, I've always thought that mainstream media, like, it's the last person I'm gonna go because they're usually like discriminating and everything. I'm trying to come to you with good faith, man, but I just genuinely don't.
Then you're failing. Then you're failing. I believe you, Devon, that you're trying, but you are failing. This is not how good faith conversations go. If you're trying, you need to learn to do better.
Person gonna go because they're usually like discriminating and everything. I'm trying to come to you with good faith, man, but I just genuinely don't think that however I come at this, you're like gonna trust what I'm saying. But
Correct. Because that is the credibility that you've laid out for yourself. It's not his fault that you are untrustworthy. It's not his fault that you are not credible in the things that you say.
I feel like that needs to be open in order for this to happen. I just want to see the letter or the email.
He was open to ending the conversation. He said he doesn't trust you, and he said, okay, let's end the conversation because nothing you say I'm going to believe. No, please, please.
You show me the email and it's facts down to what you say, I'm going to agree.
It's on the screen, Devon. It's on the screen. It's on the screen.
I don't have any loyalty to people I do not know.
I don't
know, but you have loyalty to your own ego.
Down to what you say, I'm going to agree. I don't have any loyalty to people I do not know.
I don't give a fuck anything you're saying. You're a piece of shit. So I'm uninterested.
Guys, really quick, if you are enjoying the stream, please do hit that like button. It helps out so very much. And if you could share, that would be amazing. It doesn't even matter if you think anybody's going to click on the link. Just by you telling YouTube, I want other people to see this, they will show it to other people. Thank you so very much.
I'm talking to after I provide this evidence. I don't give a shit.
Well, shit, that's sad because we could have been best friends, bro. Like, besties, bro. Wait, are you actually sending?
I'm looking.
Or are you looking at something else?
I'm looking for the evidence that you're requiring. That's what I'm doing.
Hey, and what I'll say was, if it doesn't exist, then I can't say either way that Lincoln was right or the GOP was right. Like, I'll just have a neutral stance on it. I'll say I have to look at other evidence in order to come to a conclusion that this may be true or not. But I'm just the kind of person where it's like, I'd like to see.
You're not. You're a second shit liar. You're a second shit liar. You're standard.
And again, I disagree. I don't think he's lying. I think that he thinks that this is the best way to go about things because of the fact that if you keep going down this road and distrusting anything that you see, eventually you'll have reason to believe whatever it is that you want to believe. If you can distrust ABC, fine. Everybody distrusts ABC, but then you're the Senate and Congress. Now we have a letter, actual emails from the CIA. Like, it's not about skepticism. It's about an unwillingness to accept that you were wrong.
But I'm just the kind of person where it's like, I'd like to see.
You're not. You're a second shit liar. You're a second shit liar. Your standard will be markedly different when it comes to these sorts of things. Okay.
But again, to be fair, I do not think that Devon is a liar. I think he's just wrong and biased.
This is unfortunate.
That's fair. You can think that. All the more reason for you not to talk to me anymore. No problem.
No, man, come on, bro. I'm still.
No, please. Like, maybe this is just me. Maybe this is just me. But if I was on a show and somebody was said, I never want to talk to you again, I would not continue that conversation. I mean, unless I knew I was right. Content is content, right?
Respect you after this, bro. Like, you're tripping. It's not that deep.
It's not that deep, but you need 7 layers of articles and proof.
I'll still respect you after this, bro. Like, you're tripping. It's not that deep.
Let's see.
If you don't want to go down this lane too, we could also just move on to something else.
No.
Like, nope, I got this. We're here now. Let's fucking do it.
No, I'm more than happy to go down this lane and have this be the end of the conversation. No problem.
Okay. So I was curious about, J6.
I don't. Your curiosity means nothing to me.
Jesus Christ.
Why are you so mean to me? I have no idea why I'm getting this treatment. It must be that you are a mean person. It must be that you think everybody's in bad faith.
It has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with me. Because I'm perfect. I'm just, here in good faith, saying whatever you say, I'll take it at face value. Except the only thing that matters in this conversation. That I need to source after source after source after source after source.
Do you remember what my entire argument was on the Sarah panel that you joined? Can you refresh what that argument was?
Put a 1 in the chat if you did not see that panel when Rob and Devon were debating.
Yeah, the actual argument was essentially, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, that like if you haven't, if you were silent on Democratic corruption or you basically encourage it, then you should be laughed at when you criticize Trump's corruption because you basically enabled that when it came to someone you disagree with. Right?
I actually wasn't listening to you.
Why did you ask me to say it again, bro?
Because I found.
Because he's busy and he needed to fill dead air.
I think I found what I'm looking for.
That was brilliant. He's just like, can you say something? I'm doing stuff. Oh my goodness.
I'm very confused.
Okay, let's.
Yep, that is clear. That is clear, Devon.
Here we go. Here's the official transcript. What page are we on here? Page 18.
Oh,
this is the official transcript from Morell's testimony, former head of the CIA.
So now we're looking at the U.S. House of Representatives testimony transcript. Is this enough? Let's see.
I want to make sure that you'll accept all levels of proof here. One, do you acknowledge this says judiciary.house.gov website? I'll place the link for you so that you can see it. That link will be in the chat of my audience. I want you to look at that link and determine that I haven't manufactured anything, that this is actually a .gov website. Let's do that step first, please.
Shout out to Dylan Soup. Welcome to the party. If you guys are just joining us and you are not familiar with Devon over here in the red, that is who is debating Rob right now. He's spent a lot of time in our Discord and he has debated me on this channel. Just so we know.
Should anything that this is actually a .gov website. Let's do that step first, please.
Unlike you, I believe that you're not manipulating.
Please, you don't have to pontificate. Just do that.
Hold on, do what? Just say that I acknowledge it?
I want you to click that link that I put in the chat so that you can acknowledge that this goes to an official
my fault. The stream chat. I was looking at Twitter.
Correct.
I still don't have anything in the stream chat.
You didn't see it in the stream. Okay. Would you like me to put it in the private chat here? I could do that. If I can figure that out. Okay, private chat. Go there. I'm pasting a link. I want you to click on that link and see that it doesn't rickroll you. It doesn't go to Breitbart.
Yo, that would be fucking hilarious. That would be fucking hilarious if we just heard in the background, like, got him. But this is a great way to this is a great way to address somebody like this. You're saying, you're making sure every single step of the way that we're on the same page. 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 So if we get to the last page and we're not on the same page, you fucked up.
Right? Got it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. You let me know when you click on it and you acknowledge that this, to the best of your incredible skepticism, appears in fact to be an actual government document.
Yes.
You acknowledge that.
Am I allowed to ask questions?
You can ask whatever. Your skepticism is so intense that I would welcome you asking any question that you have about this. Go for it.
You're right. I should probably control it. It's a little all over the place.
You're good.
And stop calling it skepticism when it is cynicism.
Remind me who Michael Morell is again?
Former head of the CIA, one of the intel officials that signed. Okay, we good?
Perfect.
Now, will you acknowledge that the title of this document, which you can see on the screen, is Committee on the Judiciary, U.S. House of Representatives, Washington, D.C., interview of Michael Morell, Tuesday, April 4th, 2023. Will you acknowledge that that's what it says?
Yes, that's exactly.
Okay.
All right. So we are on the same page. But guys, we are coming up on that 2.5 hour mark. If you would like to keep the party raging, you know how to do it. Any donation will extend the show.
Thank you. All right. That's what it
Word
says.
for word.
Now we're going to search Blinken. The reason I'm word searching Blinken is because I have read this testimony before.
We got to read the entire 132 pages, Rob. Otherwise, how do we know that you're not taking it out of context? Yep. Hey, hit that swole goal. Make me do push-ups. That's the only way I'm not going to wither away to nothing.
but I have not in quite some time, and it's a 132-page document. So we're getting to the central claim of, did Anthony Blinken request that people in the intel officials make this sort of letter? Would you say that's fair to search, or do you insist that I read the entire 130-page document to you?
No, you obviously don't have to do that, man.
Very well. Okay, so now we're searching the term Blinken.
Hey, shout out to Indy Fam, member for 2 whole years. It's a freebie for Morty, but I don't fucking count. I don't count to the Swoko. But very, very, very much appreciate Indy Film. You're probably the earliest, I don't like saying fan, but viewer. You're probably the earliest person of anybody who has watched in the last year. There may or may not be people who were around before you, but you an OG. Dilly to Indy Bam. Everybody put Indy in the chat for me, please. Thank you, sir.
Very well. Okay.
All right, fine. I'll give the freebie 5 minutes.
Okay, so now we're searching the term Blinken.
Winking, blinking, and nod.
Mm-hmm.
Question. In his email to Nick Shapiro, you said that you would, quote, explain tomorrow on the phone how this came to be, meaning this public statement. And I will enter an email into the record so you can get a copy of it. We have entered this one into record, the previous one. Can you tell us what you said to Mr. Shapiro during the call? Morale says, sure. I told him that I received a call from Tony Blinken, then a senior official at the Biden campaign, asking me if I'd seen the New York Post story. If my memory serves, then, I don't exactly know how you want to do this, but my memory's sketchy, right? It's a long time ago. I believe I said I had not seen it. I believe he summarized it for me, and he asked me if I thought the Russians may have been involved in any way to show the emergence of these emails. I should also say I don't know whether he called me or sent me an email, just to be clear. Initiating the call, but for the U.S. Today article he forwarded. He either called or emailed me. Right. At this time.
Let's take a little break to say again, thank you to Indie Film with the $2 making you holla. Thank you, sir. Let's keep that party raging. Thank you, Indie Film.
The U.S. Today article he forwarded. He either called or emailed me. Right. At this time, I was regularly deleting my emails because something that happened to Director Brennan in late 2015. So all the emails I received as part of this, right? Some of those emails have been deleted. So it's possible he sent me an email. It's possible he called me. Jordan says there were 2 separate communications.
$3 will get us halfway there, guys. Give me halfway. Give me halfway. Shout out to Maverick being Frank. Welcome to the parties. And how about giving me a free membership? I genuinely do not know how to do that. I don't know if you can do that, but hey, make sure you have gifts on because sometimes people will gift memberships and maybe you can get one. But it is, again, reminder, guys, it starts at $2.99 for the whole month. That's at the very, very least. 12 after parties and 24/7 the full Discord server. I promise you it is worth it. And the more that comes in, the more I can do to give members a better experience. So sign on up. Nothing is
it's been deleted. So it's possible he sent me an email. It's possible he called me. Jordan says there were 2 separate communities.
Life is free. Oh, really? So how do you get any type of sustenance from life without money? Hey, shout out to Indie Film again with the gifted membership. Went to Dietrich's this time, but again, make sure the 3 dots at the top of your chat. Where is it? I always forget where this is. Maybe it is there for you, but it should be. There should be settings, and you can turn on or off accepting gifts. Make sure you can get that. Thank you, sir. And of course, the party rages on.
Emails because something that happened to Director Brennan in late 2015. So all the emails.
Sorry. I didn't mean to hit that. Hold on. Calm it down.
At this time, I was regularly deleting my emails because something that happened to Director Brennan in late 2015. So all the emails I received as part of this, right? Some of those emails have been deleted. So it's possible he sent me an email. It's possible he called me. Jordan says there were two separate communications. That was first call or email, and then there was a subsequent email with the USA Today article. Yes, sir, says Morrell. Jordan says, what was the time of the email? Morrell says, so I don't know for sure, Congressman, but I believe he called to ask the question first and then followed up with the email. Close together? Morrell says, I think, given the timestamps here, I feel that, when I say, Congressman, I was just wondering if you guys think the Russians played in the Hunter Biden thing. That was 2:16 p.m. on the 17th. He sent me the USA Today article later that day. Now, you acknowledge that this is already Morrell saying before he signed on to this letter, he was contacted by a member of Biden's team who said, hey, do you think Russians could have had something to do with this? You acknowledge that his
Thank you, Matthew. Yeah, go to the stream page, click join, then the dots, and check to make sure you have gifts on, so that when we have people like Indie Film gifting memberships, you get a shot. Thank you.
member of Biden's team who said, hey, do you think Russians could have had something to do with this? You acknowledge that his testimony is that so far, correct?
Yes, that's literally what we read.
Okay, that would seem to strongly suggest that I was correct already.
I mean, I guess if you just hunting and drinking from natural springs, then yeah, that's free, I guess. All right, fine.
Yes, that's literally what we read.
Okay, that would seem to strongly suggest that I was correct already before we get deeper into
what
this.
What are you talking about? No, it doesn't. It suggests that Blinken called him and asked him, yo, did you see that? Do you think the Russians did anything? That's literally all it says.
What it suggests is that these people didn't write this letter based on their own prompting. They were prompted by the Biden administration.
You're making your own inferences. Let's go off of what it says. What it says is that he called him, he asked him if he saw it. And
it doesn't say MS-13.
He asked him if he thought that it had anything to do with it. That's what it says.
What it suggests is that he didn't come up with this on his own, that he was in direct communication with people in the Biden administration that fed him the exact story that he would
make the argument that he inceptioned him. That's fine, but that's not what this says.
So that, Devon, if you didn't mean to be bad faith there, that's bad faith. You know that's not what he's saying. You know that that's a straw man. Now, listen, sometimes you can be, I'll do that too. I'll go, so far as to make it clear that I'm being hyperbolic or facetious or whatever. But I don't know that that's what's happening here. And this is why we say bad faith. And shout out to Candace. She was on Jubilee today. She did 20 feminists. You know what? I'm going to put out a poll and see if you would donate 99 cents for me to cover that, because they always copyright claim it. But I really do like the conversations that come that come from it. I really do enjoy those conversations, but they copyright it every single time. But if I know that you guys will come through for me, then I don't have to worry about any ad money.
The exact story that he would
make the argument that he inceptioned him. That's fine, but that's not what this says. We can keep going. Blinken shows up 33 times. Your point might actually show up.
Yes or no? Does this show that the first time, or that previous to Morrell writing and signing on to this letter, that the allegations within the letter that it was Russian was suggested by the Biden administration to him?
Yeah, it could have been China, right? It could have been China.
Before he signed on to the letter. Yes or no?
I'm reading back. I'm not like hemming and hawing. Just relax, okay?
Just relax. How do you not see how antagonistic that type of language is? It's so annoying and it's immature. And so, yeah, it pisses people off because you're acting like a child. Just relax, bro. He's not even like.
Sure, it's an emergency to call Blinken and senior official to ask him whether he called me or whether he was said anything about the Russians prior to that. Or does Morrell say that he didn't think anything about the Russians prior to that, or did he just say that Tony had asked him if he thought that the Russians had anything to do with it? Because I'm not seeing the part where he said this.
What would the context be where somebody said, I haven't really thought about Russia before, but I'm thinking about it now? Obviously, he's thought about Russia before. Again, we come back to an impossible evidentiary standard. Candace is killing it. I don't love the fact that I saw that Ian Carroll guy was hosting her show for a while. Maybe she was just on vacation or whatever, but I'm not a huge fan of that dude. I mean, he's entertaining, but I think I would have to watch a little bit more of him to really pin it down, but I don't trust it. I don't trust it.
Say that Tony had asked him if he thought that the Russians had anything to do with it. Because I'm not seeing the part where he said this is like the first time he was like ever thought
He
about the
says that he
Russian.
didn't even know about the story until this was brought to his attention. That's what the testimony showed. Regardless,
Okay,
I don't know
gotcha.
why.
Yeah, I
I
see
don't-
that. Yeah, I acknowledge that
Okay.
then. Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Thank you.
I acknowledge that. There you go.
Okay, we'll continue.
All right, we've got some agreement. I agree that she is outrageous. And courageous. I thought it said outrageous. But either way, she is courageous and outrageous. And I don't agree with everything she says, and I don't love all of her positions, but she definitely is courageous and says that shit with her chest.
Now we're on page 21. My memory, when he called you, did he insinuate that you should write the letter and statement? My memory is he did not, right? My memory is he asked me what I thought. Question. Okay, it wasn't the campaign. Could use some help. Could you answer? He did not.
Come on, man. We can't understand what you're saying. Okay, so question. When he called you, did he direct, suggest, or insinuate in any way that you should write a letter or statement to this topic? Answer. My memory is that he did not. He did not, right? My memory is that he asked me what I thought. Question. Okay, it wasn't the campaign could use some help on this. Could you? Answer. He did not say that. Could you cook something up? It is not my memory that he said that. Question. Okay, why do you believe he called you, then asked for your opinion on this? Answer. Tony and I were fairly close. I mean, I wouldn't say we were close friends, but Tony and I were fairly close during our time in government when he was the vice president's national security advisor, and then when he was the President Obama's deputy national security advisor. I would be the person that he would reach out to.
Say that. It was not my memory that he said that. Tony and I.
So that he would during our time in government when he was vice president. No, I would be the person he would reach out to with those kinds of questions. When we saw the other post-Obama administration, we would have conversations about what was going on in the world. He would ask me questions. So it was in part natural, for him to do that. But, he asked me a specific question. He'll have to tell you what his intent was, right, in asking me. My thinking was that if I agreed, right, the Russians were somehow involved, my guess was that he would want that out. But that is a guess. I do not know his intent.
That's Anthony Blinken. We're fairly close. I mean, I would say we were close friends, but Tony and I were fairly close during our time in government when he was vice president, national security advisor, when he was president Obama's national security advisor. I would be the person he would reach out to with these questions. When we saw each other post the Obama administration, we'd have conversations about what was going on in the world. He would ask me questions. So it was natural for him to do that. But, he asked me a specific question here. I have to tell you what his intent, right, in asking me. He'll have to tell you his intent. My thinking was if I agreed, right, that the Russians were somehow involved, my guess is he would want that out. But this is a guess, right? I don't know his intent. Prior to the call, do you have any intent to write this statement? I did not. So
I did not. That one went down. But prior to his, so I do not know his intent. Where we missed that. I did not. So his call triggered this.
The call triggered this. Yes, it did. Absolutely. Question. Okay. And then in the exhibit I just handed you, I see the email from Secretary Blinken was originally sent to him by Andrew Bates, the director of rapid response from the Biden campaign and White House press secretary. Do you have any reason to believe Secretary Blinken was directed by the Biden campaign to enlist you to write this statement? I don't know that, he says. Did he mention communication with Andrew Bates? He did not. Or on the phone with you. Do you believe you were enlisted by the Biden campaign to write this statement? I can't guess their intent. Matt Gaetz then. Mr. Morrell, you're aware of other individuals that Blinken contacted? No, I'm not aware. Question. Do you have any reason to believe the Biden campaign planted the USA story titled "A Tabloid Trove Data Hunter Biden," blah, 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 the same article they sent you? I don't believe they did. Question. Do you know whether Blinken...
Hold on, real quick before you go on. Stop. I want to just see, do you acknowledge that so far what we've read is that he didn't have the idea about this beforehand, but he doesn't know anything, or there was no suggesting from Tony Blinken specifically to write it. It's just that the idea didn't occur beforehand, and he has no idea about the intent for him to have tried to influence.
No, it's just that it was not clearly stated that is the fact. That doesn't mean it wasn't the fact of the situation. It just means that what we've read doesn't say that it is not the fact. That is it. Bach said, I don't like how fundamentalist Candace is. I can appreciate when we line up on things, though. I completely agree. There's a lot of stuff where it's just like, hey, that ain't me, girl. That ain't me. You keep that shit over there. When she's on point, she is on point. I said that was like a bad breakup in elementary school. I never want to talk to you again. There's this one channel. Shout out to, let's see what the channel was. More Pegasus, or maybe that's the second channel, but I'm someone who likes to get into the personal drama of all that kind of stuff, but I don't know a lot of the creators in the lawsuit that Ethan H3 is going through, and so this channel is awesome for being able to find that stuff. So I'll drop a link in the chat here because we always want to help other people, right? And there might be other channels as well. That is, I think, a person that was referenced in one of the most recent videos. But yeah, long story short, I care about that stuff, but because I don't watch any of these content creators, it's really good to have somebody put it together for me. And I think it is somewhat important to have an understanding, since we are the type of people who do look up to pundits. It's important to have at least some understanding of who they are outside of specifically what they're saying. You realize that my hair is up all day unless I'm sitting here, right? Just. Matthew said, it's like if your buddy texts you and says, you saw me at Walmart last night, right? Homie needs an alibi. He doesn't have to come out and say shit. And remember, we're not just talking about some guys. We're talking about top level politicians. This is what they do. Dancing around the laws is what they do. Anybody said, when someone says my memory of this is that versus I remember this or that, then they're lying. Bingo. Yup. Next goes hard on San. Okay, I may have. Excuse me. I may have Nux. Oh, yeah. I've seen this guy before. Yeah, I do have a bias against VTubers, but that's my bias. Pegasus is good. Tectone reacts to him a lot, and I enjoy Tectone's streams. Yeah, see, I'm not familiar with any of these people, so because I do care enough about the drama, not because it's like, ooh, gossip, because it affects the political landscape, and being able to see the personalities of the people who not only have bad ideas, but they are bad people, really, really, really makes it a lot easier to not like them.
Idea didn't occur beforehand, and he has no idea about the intent for him to have tried to influence him to write it. Do you know?
He is saying that he does not know what the intent was of Blinken reaching out to him. However, he would not have wrote this else from the prompting of Blinken. That's what he says.
Which implies inspiration on his.
Hopefully not to my level. But we'll see. Because that was what Ethan said specifically, is that he's not trying to have these giant ripple effects where you can't react to anything. But we will see. And I would prefer to have to do something different than this. Then it just be that people like that can just straight up steal content. Buck said, I have this super cool superpower. I don't know why I said super twice. I have this cool superpower. When a woman is yelling at me, I can just tune it out. It's like turning down the volume in my brain. This is basically how I feel about this whole debate. I think we are aware how you feel about this debate.
Part, but not an intentional plan for Blinken to make him do that, correct?
No, that's we could come to our own conclusion.
Tell that to Jubilee.
Plan for Blinken to make him do that, correct?
No, that's we could come to our own conclusion why Blinken would have reached out to him. I think it's clear.
That's fine, but if we're going off of this if we're going off of this testimony, Morrill specifically said he does not know that. He does not know these.
That is correct. He is saying, do you know what I'm thinking right now?
Yeah. Okay. So
you do? Do you know what I'm
You know what he's thinking right now. I guess he is a mind reader. I thought it was a myth that liberals were mind readers, but I guess not.
Is saying, do you know what I'm thinking right now?
Yeah. Okay. So
you do? Do you know what I'm thinking right now?
No.
I mean, I've never used it positively, but
sorry, I thought you were.
So
saying
therefore,
that,
if you were called in front of Congressional,
I thought
I don't need to
I
hold on. A
misunderstood
simple
what you
yes, no
just
will
said.
suffice. A
Yeah,
simple
I
yes, no will suffice.
misunderstood.
Okay,
I misunderstood what you just
Great.
said.
You
I'm just
acknowledge.
trying to-
Great. So now I'm accepting your
You
answer
don't
that you
care
misunderstood what I said, and your answer is no, you don't know what I said. Therefore, I'll follow up with my next question instead
right,
of you
cool.
hemming and hawing and explaining that you misunderstood for the next 2 minutes. And what I'll say is, okay, you didn't understand what I said. I clarified. Now you admit no. Therefore, if you were called to testify about this exchange in Congress and they said, was Rob's intent X, you would say, I don't know his intent. Yes.
Exactly. And so, yeah, if this is the type of stuff that has any interest for you, check out, what did they say? Noerr and Pegasus.
Great. That's what anyone would say about anything unless they're specifically told that they would say, I can't speak to exactly what their intent was. However, we already got the most important part of this, which was that this person, Morrell, was never intending to write this letter until he was contacted by a member of the Biden team, which prompted him to write the letter. Okay, moving on. Question. Do you have any reason to believe that the Biden campaign planted the story? Oh, we already did that.
Real quick, a big shout out to Box, who is now guaranteed that there is an after party, because you guys know I can't just sit around and wait. But if there are people in the after party when the stream is done, I will be there. Obviously, I can't be the one like, hey guys, it's time to come out, because you guys are all you have your own lives. If you don't want to come to the after party, I don't want to, be up your ass. But if you do, hop in the voice channel before the stream ends, and we will definitely be there. Thank you, Box.
Moving on. Question. Do you have any reason to believe that the Biden campaign planted the story? Oh, we already did that. Do you know whether Blinken or Bates had contact with USA Today? Blah, blah, blah. Morrell says. So it seems right. It seems the campaign was asked about questions about the USA Today and did provide material because, you could read it to see it. So I'm sure they did. There's a 100% chance of certainty. Did the Biden...
As remember, if you join, there's a pinned link. If you click that pinned link, you also can come hang out in the after party.
Campaign direct your strategy with reporters on the statement. Morrell says, so there's an email, which we'll get to, I assume, where I'm telling Nick Shapiro that the campaign would like Shane Harris of the Washington Post, to be the one to get the story. So now we have an acknowledgement that Biden's campaign is saying, here's who you need to release your statement to. Would you acknowledge that strongly suggests that Blinken's intent was to have this be used in the media to help the Biden campaign?
No, well, it could have been this or that or this or that.
Rereading it. So
I just realized that in the app for my schedule, it's a restaurant job. They're talking about sick hours. I'm like, yo, do I got sick hours? Can I use sick hours? Get paid not to show up?
I clicked off of the page real quick, so I lost it, but I found it.
Page 23.
No, I got it. Get to I assume where I'm telling Nick Shapiro that the campaign would like Shane Harris of the Washington Post. So that email would be the one that says
So then, here's the larger point: is that Devon, you came in here arguing that this was not the case, and now you're demonstrating that you don't have any fucking clue. So, like you said before, Rob has demonstrated that he knows more about this than you do. In the same way that I gave you the flowers for Kilmar, I was like, hey, you clearly know more about the case than I do. You still turned out to be wrong, but whatever. I'm not going to try and litigate something that I don't know that you clearly know, because even if there is something there, I'm not going to be able to find it and use it effectively in the moment. If I had already read all 132 pages of this, and you're trying to make a point about something that's on page 23, and I know something that's on page 50 that's different, that's a whole other story. But trying to learn it now as you're arguing against it, that's not good faith. I said, how can he not just not admit the campaign wanted this letter to be released? Because that would be against his positions. That's all they have, right? There's no principles, just positions. So he gives up the position. He is nothing.
one that says
Well, except for a liberal.
I'll read the statement out loud so everybody can hear. You could think about how you're trying to spin this.
I'm not thinking about how I can spin it. I had a twist.
Then what are you thinking about? What are you thinking about then? We were just we've been reading out loud, but all of a sudden you need to slow down and be quiet and have dead air on a stream so that you could read what we were already reading. Sus.
Think about how you're trying to spin this.
I'm
as
not
I read it
thinking
out
about
loud.
how I
I
can
will read
spin
it. I'll
it.
read
I
it
had
out
a
loud.
twisted tea. I'm trying to read.
I will.
He had a twisted tea. Well, that explains everything. That explains everything. A twisted tea means that your brain don't work. You cannot make this shit up. Shout out to Indie Film again! Again! With the 5 gifted memberships. Thank you, thank you, thank you so very, very much, sir. Shout out to Liquid Cryptid, Jeff Pearson, Dan Jensen, Artie Dow, Race Videos, and Stephen Bravo. You guys are now members of the Indian Jesus Discord. Click that link at the top of the chat, and you get full access. Thank you, thank you, thank you so very, very much. And I believe that makes you the new sponsor of the stream. Thank you so very, very much. Let's do the math here. Where are we at? So we're at 6 out of 15. And 40 out of 50, right? 25 plus 15 is 40, right? No, 35. What, 25? Yeah. Hey, $10, guys. $10. And Morty gets his peanut butter. And I've got to do push-ups. 1 push-up for every $2. I think that's a deal. I think that's a deal. Or $7 with 7 individual 99-cent super chats. Either way, guys. Either way. Thank you, thank you, thank you so very, very much, sir. Indy hitting it hard, baby. Absolutely. Thank you, thank you, thank you, sir.
I will read for the audience. Question: did the Biden campaign direct your strategy with reporters on the statement? Answer: so there is an email, which we'll get to, I assume, where I am telling Nick Shapiro that the campaign would like Shane Harris of the Washington Post to be the ones, to write a story. In other words, yes, the Biden campaign told them who to coordinate with in the media to get this story. I don't know what's so difficult that it's taking you a long while to admit that that's the case.
It's honestly, and you're not gonna.
He's doing it again. You're about to do it again. So we can see that you are biased. And so Rob is calling out your bias. You then, hiding behind your bias, project that Rob is biased before he even reacts. If he's going to be biased and not accept it because he's biased, let him do that and then call it out. Because now, even if it is the case that he's not going to accept it because of his bias, you have lost that ground. You have lost that ground because you preempted it. This is the opposite of letting your opponent, use so much rope. The thing. The thing. You have to let them do it first and then call it out. Wasn't Devon? You're jumping ahead. You're jumping ahead. I don't know how else to. Yeah, right. Blame the booze. Blame the booze. I've had 3 drinks since the stream has started, so, they weren't twisted teas, but, Bog said, I make things that will last longer than me and something that won't. What? I don't know what this means. Matthew said, does it just give them to anyone? Yeah, it's random. The gifted memberships are just random. Even said, I'm doing my part. Are you? Service guarantees citizenship. Would you like to know more? Indeed. With it. I said, I'm biased against Biden due to all the corruption. It's not a bias based out of nothing. Not all biases are bad. You should have a bias against criminals. You should have a bias against dogs that are not trained and can kill you. It's not that complicated, but you have to be aware of that bias and be aware of how that bias affects your perspective. Liberty Plus TV said, can someone point to something actually anti-Semitic that Candace has said? Nope. I don't know how to say this, so I'm just going to assume that everybody understands the joke. And yep, no, I don't think so. I don't think so.
It's taking you a long while to admit that that's the case.
It's honestly, and you're not gonna
Tone policing.
you're not gonna accept it because you don't believe shit from anybody. Is that I'm trying to listen to you while I'm trying to reread it, but like it's two things happening.
Right. So that means that you don't have the information. That means that you came into this unprepared. And so there should be some level of what came out of your fucking mouth of just believing at face value what somebody is saying that's been backed up by one article and then another article and then testimony from a fucking Senate hearing. But still, you're here arguing and saying, well, I don't know. Where is the skepticism coming from? Skepticism, or at least healthy skepticism, should be based on something. I don't believe this because just not wanting to accept things is not skepticism. It's dogma. Yep. Well, you know how the wokies will be. The wokies will be woke. You've got the woke ones who are Zenjos! And then you've got the woke ones that are like, anybody who says anything against Israel is one of those people. Woke goes both ways.
Is that I'm trying to listen to you while I'm trying to reread it, but like it's two things happening at once. So just
I'm watching a stream. I'm paying attention to the chat, and we got Discord boxes showing off a beautiful day. Well, I won't I won't say where you're from, but a beautiful day where he's at the chat, and I'm listening to you, and I'm reading the thing because Rob's reading too fast. But you're right, because you know more details about things that are tangentially relevant.
Listen to you while I'm trying to reread it, but like it's two things happening at once. So just give me 2 seconds. And again, like I said, dude, I had a 260, so I'm vibing. So there was an email in which
I didn't want to say it on without your permission, but yeah, shout out to Duluth, a beautiful day. It was 90 this morning, but then it rained and it came down to like 77. It's a good day. It's a good day.
I'm vibing right now. All right. So 1 second.
Did he say I'm vibing right now?
And again, like I said, dude, I had a twisted tea, so I'm vibing right now.
He said it again, bro. I would have to be so down bad. To say I had one drink, and that is why anything, twice. I had a twisted tea.
All right, so give me 2 seconds. And again, like I said, dude, I had a twisted tea, so I'm vibing right now. All right, so 1 second. Saturday, the same. So there was an
Hey, shout out to Rob for not jumping on that.
email, which we'll get to, I assume, where I am.
You don't have to read it out loud.
Oh my God, just please let me finish this. I assume where I'm almost done.
Okay, then we'll mute you if you're incapable. We'll watch this fuckhead pretend that he's reading as he's spinning his wheels trying to find a way to spin this.
No, he's using ChatGPT to figure out why he's right when he's not. You see, that's so respectful of you to show up to the job drunk. I didn't show up drunk. I just got drunk while we were here. I was sober when we started, but you know how alcohol works. You drink more of it, it'll get you drunk. Who knows that reference?
We'll watch this fuckhead pretend that he's reading as he's spinning his wheels trying to find a way to spin this. Oh, you still reading? Still reading?
Okay, cool. No. Yeah. I agree that what it says is that allegedly there's an email in which the Biden administration is telling him like that they would like this specific person at the Washington Post to report on the story. Got it. I'm all caught up, bro. I'm a little
Okay,
slow.
so now I'll
This is information that, with your level of, I'll even say confidence, your level in confidence in your position, you should already be aware of this. And then the fact that you're not, and you're getting, see, I was going to say uppity, but I feel like somebody's going to take that as racist, but you know, whatever. Being uppity. Can I just read this? We're on a live stream where people are watching, and I needed the entire show to stop so that I can read something that I should have already known that has already proved against my point. Talk about rain. It is pouring again. I don't know what happened. But over the last, 7-8 years, between the thunderstorms in the summer and the fireworks, he would go crazy. And I think he's just over it. I don't know. Now, if I said like, I'm not even gonna go that way. But no, I think uppity is something I've always used. I mean, I guess I grew up around a lot. I don't think it's a racial thing. In the same way that somebody got mad at me because I said that I referred to a black person as articulate because they thought that I meant articulate for a black person, as if that is something that I would ever say, let alone even think. It's weird. Anyway.
Report on story. Got it. I'm all caught up, bro. I'm a little slow.
So now
Man, that's why we love them reality TV shows, right? Love is blind,
That's
baby.
the question again, since you're the slowest person to be able to read this, everyone else had already seen. Will you acknowledge that this means that the Biden campaign was coordinating with the person they reached out to into how they should share this information with the media?
Yeah, I suppose so.
So we were right the whole time.
Okay, and would you say that heavily implies that the reason that they were reaching out was they wanted this to be a talking point to help them in the campaign?
That's where I draw the line. I would say that there's a window open for that possibility. Yeah.
Okay, what would the other possibility be?
Hey, yo! Way to turn that into something that is racist. No, I think most oh, wait. Now you said you feel black people aren't articulate generally. That isn't necessarily racist. That's not what I meant. I felt people generally aren't articulate.
I would say that there's a window open for that possibility. Yeah.
Okay, what would the other possibility be?
The other possibility just being that they
you again, now you're just arguing to argue. You say you acknowledge that there would be no there'd be no possibility that this would be something else. Or no, it would be, but I can't think of it right now. Let me try to think of something. To negate all of this evidence. I'm going to try to think of something. That is neither skepticism nor good faith.
The other possibility.
I want to hear that again.
Was
I suppose so.
They reached out to into how they should share this information with the media.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Okay, and would you say that heavily implies that the reason that they were reaching out was they wanted this to be a talking point to help them in the campaign?
So it's a possibility that they wanted to use this as a talking point.
That's where I draw the line. I would say that there's a window open for that possibility. Yeah.
Why are you saying that if you can't even think of the possibility? Why are you saying that?
Okay, what would the other possibility be?
The other possibility just being that they
Go ahead, spend some time thinking about this.
I might need to.
I bet you do.
Yeah, you do. Guys, we are $10 away from Morty getting his peanut butter. Let's make it happen.
I guess the other possibility would be that they wanted a specific person to just break what information they had, as opposed to the question being, repeat the question again.
Can you?
Break what information they had, as opposed to the question being, repeat the question again.
Can you come up with a reason other than the Biden team wanted this out there to help them in the campaign that they would be telling them to coordinate with specific media members? Because let me steel man you.
No, because, technically it could be that there's a cabal of people that are doing this and blowing on bullshit. Hey, shout out to Indie Film again. Shout out to Dylan Super receiving the membership. Already grandfathered in, but hey. We take what we can get. Thank you so very, very much out sponsoring yourself and keeping the party raging.
Be telling them to coordinate with specific media members. Because let me steel man your position.
Not really.
Let me.
I don't have a.
Okay. Now again, we have. Let me steel man your position. That is that is an olive branch in a debate. That is saying, hey, I want to be on the same page as you. I want to make sure I understand you. So before, he was like, no, I don't. I don't remember exactly what he said, but he had an issue with that. Let's see if he does the same thing.
Media members. Because let me steel man your position.
Not really.
I
don't have a position yet. I haven't even answered your question. I would probably agree with you on this. Yes.
Okay, you agree because I'll steel man what your position was previous to this, where
there was no.
Could be, please.
Hey, shout out again to Arrow with the $2 make you holler. No question, no comment, just pure love of the game. That's what I got to do the math here. Hold on, we got to update. That is 7 out of 15, guys. That is 7 out of 15. The gifted membership is 3, so we got 5. Guys, we are more than halfway by the donations, and we are $5 away from the goal. And might I remind you that this is the first time ever on air that I will be sawing the fucking peanut butter open so Morty can get in. You want to see it? Trust me. $5. We got it. Thank you, Arrow. So very, very much.
Agree with you on this. Yes.
Okay, you agree because I'll steel man what your position was previous to this, where
there was no.
Could be. Please, I'll just mute.
See, he doesn't want the steel man because then it lays out his position, which is stupid.
Again,
yes.
Please, the position would be as follows. Well, maybe Blinken's reaching out not because he's concerned about, quote, helping his side win a campaign, but because he's legitimately concerned about potential Russian interference, correct?
Yes, that would be the steel man of his position. And even if it is something slightly different, it is so clear that people on the right are very much more capable of steel manning the left than the left is steel manning the right.
That might be something that you would say.
Yeah, that's possible.
Okay, but then that wouldn't explain coordinating with media. That would explain asking them to coordinate with the FBI or with investigators, but not the media. Once you start talking about we want this story broken in the media, it's clear that the reason you want this to become public information is you want it to help you in the campaign, which you've agreed to.
And what I would do, and you're not going to afford me that possibility because you just don't trust me.
Oh, that's 3. That's 3. 3 times. 3 times. He said, you're not going to believe me because you have your biases. Before he said the thing. Hey, Indie Film. He said 69 wasn't good enough. We got to do 2. 69. There we go. And 1. There we fucking go. I'm going to assume that you did the math, and that is a total of $50. Let's see, right? We had the so that's at 9. We had 469. Oh no. We had I lost count. Where are we? That was 5. That's 2. Yeah. Fuck it. We're there. We'll call it 50. And that means we have reached the swole goal, which means I have to do a push-up for every $2. But right at this very moment, Morty gets his peanut butter. So we can see, it's empty, and he's got the top half, but he can't reach his face in there. So, how dope would it be if I just sliced my fucking hand open on stream? Can you see this? Ha ha. Yeah, okay, I'm not, you can't see it because I'm gonna really slice my hand. Banana. Swogo. Banana. Swogo. Banana. We done did it. Swogo. Oh, come on, the last little piece here. The last little piece here. Da-na-na-na. For the swole goal. Shout out to all of the donations. There we go. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so very, very much. And the party rages on. Thank you so very, very much, sir.
Right.
What I would do, and you're not going to afford me that possibility because you just don't trust anybody in the big world, is I want to read more of this testimony. I'm glad that you linked it to me because it's interesting.
Okay, so let's go back.
You see how great faith that was, bro. You see that?
It wasn't though. It wasn't though, because you said, "Oh, you're not going to accept this," and then what did he do? Accepted it.
It's interesting.
Okay, so
okay, is an acceptance.
Let's go back.
You see how great faith that was, bro. You see that?
You know what people who operate in good faith don't do? Feel the need to point out how good faith they are.
Once see that shit, bro. I know you
I believe I said what would happen was once I read the evidence to the point where you have no choice but to agree, you will just downplay it and say we should move on. Which is what's going to happen.
No, I didn't say that we should move on.
It's almost like they're all the fucking same, and you can read them like a book. Dilly fucking dilly. Shout out to Rob Noerr doing the Lord's work.
Agree, you will just downplay it and say we should move on. Which is
what's going to happen. No, I didn't say that we should move on. I said I'm glad you linked it to me.
Okay, so then you need to continue making the argument that this was not something that was used to help the Biden administration.
I would like to read more. What are you talking about?
Okay, so let's go back up to page 11 now.
Do you understand what's going on?
Projection. Do you not understand that you're in an active debate and stopping to read a 130-page fucking document is not the time? Just take the L that you didn't know this. Now that you have this, you say, okay, this is very strong evidence, assuming it says what you said it was, what it says. And I said that I would take what you said at face value. So obviously I'm going to read this more, but we can address that as you presented it. As you presented it. Where was it? Where was that article? The first article that he brought up. 142. We are now at 2:15. We are now at 2:15. And this wasn't even the focus of the debate. This was an offshoot. This was essentially a side quest.
What are you talking about?
Okay, so
what are you talking about? You don't know what's going on.
Let's go back up to page 11 now.
Do you understand what's going on? I feel like you're just saying things that I'm not doing.
Projection. Is there a possibility it could be something else? Well, that's where I draw the line. There's definitely, I can't think of anything at all, but theoretically, there could maybe be a possibility that something. I feel like you're just saying things. Just saying things.
But
all right, so let's go back up to page 10, right?
No, I want to read more. Why don't we
No, you're live on air.
I'm going to read. You can read what you want. I'll let you go. I'll let you go if you want. I'm going to go. So now we know what I wanted to get was there's two things. That one, Biden's team reached out as part of the effort to get this statement to help them in the campaign. We've acknowledged that. Now, part two was that these people that signed on testified that in part, one of the reasons for releasing this information was to help Biden. So from Biden's team's perspective, it was, please help us in the campaign. That's why you've already agreed. That's why they were telling them who to coordinate with in the media. And now I want to get to the part that this was designed by Morrell in order to help Biden. Okay? Fair enough.
That's where this was always going, but we spent an hour, not an hour, but I mean, you know, an hour of our time. We spent 40 minutes going through this. These, well, source, and then it comes all the way down to the testimony. It's like, oh, okay. But you're here in good faith.
Will sufficiently prove.
Hold on, no,
parts
I
of the
have a
argument.
question. I was just reading something. I got a question. So when they said the Biden administration, is there, because you've read this before and you may have forgotten, was there specific individuals within the administration that they're talking
Read the paper. Maybe you'll find out.
about specifically that said that they wanted Shane Harris to write about it? Or the Biden campaign? They said that the administration-
Morell says that his memory is hazy, but he does acknowledge several times. His claim is that his only contact from the Biden administration was with Anthony Blinken. So he says it must have been Blinken that he was coordinating with, because that's the only person from the Biden campaign that he had communications with. All right, now
So
page
the
10.
idea, okay.
Page 10, question. You were twice acting director of CIA. Answer for Morell, yes. Thank you. You're one of the former 51 intel officials who signed a public statement regarding Hunter's emails, correct? Yes, he says. I would like to enter a document from October 19th, the public statement. Good. I would also like to enter the political article
There you go, Rob. This is how you read out loud on a
in
stream.
this public statement from October 19, 2020. Titled, Hunter Biden's story is Russian disinfo, dozens of former intel officials say, as Exhibit 2. How would you characterize the public statement? Morell says, I'm not sure what you mean. How would you describe it? The political article. Oh, we're going to strike that from the record, blah, blah, blah.
Well, come on. TV Biersky said, if I were Devon, I would go with, there's a hat in the Biden office that has reporters' names written on little slips of paper. They randomly picked a reporter. I think that would be better than where he's going. I think you're right. Well, not that you're right about that, but I think you're right that would be a better way to go.
Not sure what you mean. How would you describe it? The political article. Oh, we're going to strike that from the record, blah, blah, blah.
Guys, don't forget that even though we have already hit the swole goal, we are at $50, and that is 25 push-ups. And if you want to bug me up, I don't know if that's going to do it.
Morell finally says, after some redactions, what does it say? Question, yes, describe. What does the statement say? Morell says, the statement says that we're concerned with suspicious. I think it says deeply suspicious that Russians played some role in the emergence of these emails at a critical time during the election period. Question, what was the intent of the statement? Morell's answer, there were two intents. One intent was to share our concern with the American people that the Russians were playing on the issue. And two, it was to help Vice President Biden.
So, look at Morty. Look at Morty. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. I love this fucking dog, man. I love this fucking dog.
Would you like me to repeat that?
No, I was wondering if you wanted me to respond to that.
Sure, respond. Is this sufficient proof to you that not only that their intent was it
all right, nobody's in the after party, so
at least in part to help Biden?
Yeah, what I would have to do is read this entire thing and look at, what would you say, circumstantial evidence around this, look into who Michael Morell was, all that
So you're not going to take anything it says at face value.
stuff, and then I'd be able to come to a solid conclusion. However, this is really good evidence that supports your argument. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say that it's not, because again.
But you may not be saying that, but you're still not accepting that at the very least. Okay, I didn't know. Look at the conversation I had with Devon, where he knew more details than I did. Sometimes you just got to be, even if you think that you're right, if you don't have the details, which Devon does not have the details, in the same way that I didn't have the details of the bond hearing and all that stuff. Oh, he's going through an happy spine. Oh, just take the L. It's okay to not know things. Who said it before? Somebody's like, nobody knows everything. And you can't. But it's like it's a game. It's not life. It doesn't affect real people. It's a game that I have to win. And if I pretend that I have some water to tread, then maybe I can think of something to spin it in the meantime. And again, I will say, if I am mischaracterizing Devon, then it is just a more plain bad faith engagement, where I don't think if it's not malicious, it's just not well crafted.
Unlike you thought, Bestie, I'm good faith. All right.
Okay.
So
Are you though?
I'll believe whatever you say if I tell you.
yeah,
You
I
have
would
to
say
look
that
up
this is
who-
very good evidence in your favor.
Okay, you have to look up who Michael Morell is. What potential evidence do you think that you'll look up into what Michael Morell is or who he is?
How Michael Morell is bad in relation to Trump.
See if
Change
there's
your
any
opinion.
updates to see if there's any updates that follow from when this testimony was given, anything surrounding this entire thing that would maybe add context to this.
Why do you think that you would not have heard about that? As somebody who sits and reads the news all day, why do you think that, one, you didn't know about this, and then two, now that you're seeing this and the strength of the evidence, that if it was bullshit, that some politician somewhere of the Democrats or the liberal pundits, somebody would have brought this up and shown, hey, this is why this is bullshit. Nobody did that. Why do you think that is? Why do you think? Maybe, just maybe, it's not bullshit. I don't know. I mean, I haven't read it before. I don't know any more than Devon does at this point. And Devon knows more than I do about this. But still, when you hold to your principles, you don't need all the details.
When this testimony was given, anything surrounding this entire thing that would maybe add context to this, because you yourself could admit that people have like either perjured themselves or people have said things under oath that you don't necessarily believe. And that's not to say I don't believe this. I right now.
So then the position should be like, okay, you win, but I'm going to read this, and if I find something, then we're going to come back and talk about it again. That is the good faith response. Not, well, I have to read all of the words ever, and then I can come up with a position.
Now, because the contesting evidence isn't really there that much, I would fall on believing this more. But again, I'd like to get a whole picture before I decide on something.
Okay, we'll get to that in a second.
The hack.
One, will you acknowledge that Michael Morell was former head of the CIA?
If you say so, I'm going to take that.
He testified as such. We can go back up and read it once. He was.
You read it. You stopped the whole show to read it. Now, I'm not super up on the details of what person said what at what testimony. I'm more of a big picture cultural guy. But Devon, you're a policy fiend. So if this is your shit, then pay attention. You stopped a live debate to read court papers. And then you didn't remember what was in them. This is why you just take the L. Just take the L.
If you say so, I'm going to take that.
He testified as such. We can go back up and read it once.
So.
He was deputy director. I'm sorry. As deputy director of the CIA, was responsible for overseeing all the CIA's activities, blah, blah, blah. And you were twice acting director? Yes, he says. So he's at least testifying that he was deputy director of the CIA twice. Twice acting director. I'm sorry. Okay.
I don't see any reason why he would lie about that.
You also acknowledge.
Right, there we go. You don't see any reason why he would lie about that. So what reason? So you accept it. So if there's other things that were stated that you don't accept, what's the difference? Is it this? Is it a different person with a different level of credibility? Or shout out to Indie Film, making sure the party is raging in the after party. Is it that? Or maybe you just didn't know any better.
Says you were one of the 51 former officials who signed a public statement. He says yes. So you know he was former head of the CIA, one of the heads of the CIA, and you know he signed this document, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You also acknowledge that he straight up says that part of his intent was to help Biden, correct?
Yes.
Not his specific intent, but he believed that the intent of the people that were asking him or trying to influence him to do that was their intent.
No.
If the entire conversation wasn't like this, I'd be like, explain to me the difference between the two things that you just said, materially as to the larger picture. Oh, it doesn't matter? Yeah, I agree.
Intent, but he believed that the intent of the people that were asking him or trying to influence him to do that was their intent.
Which was the Biden administration.
No, the question was, what was the intent of the statement that he helped draft? He says, quote, there were two intents. One intent was to share our concern with the American people that the Russians were playing on
And the other was to help the vice president.
this issue. And two, it was to help Vice President Biden. His intent was to help Biden.
Okay, hold on. Maybe I do have to
Well, I mean, he said that, but you could read it as the intention was somebody else.
read that because my understanding when you had first
Page
read it
11.
and what I had read it, that was that he was saying that other people's intent was
Well, again, it is on the screen. It is on the screen. Maybe you misunderstood it before, but he just read it out loud to you.
to do that and use on the bonus. No, you won't want me to read it, so I mean,
Go ahead, read away.
I would do this.
thank you, Bessie.
As fucking mad as I would be about the dead air. That's a moment. Go ahead. I'd be going through, I'd be highlighting different things. Take that opportunity.
Emergency emails at a critical time during the election period. What was the intent of the statement? There were two intents. One intent was to share our concern with the American people. The Russians were pointing out an issue, and two, it was to help Vice President Biden. Let me touch on the help President Biden part in a second.
We're gonna get.
Do you know where he?
I'll read it to you. Yes or
Okay,
no?
yeah. If we're gonna get into that, yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Now you acknowledge. Thank you. Now let's go a little further, just to clear up any suspicion.
So now we've gone 2.5 hours to accept two things. In a debate about Trump's character. That Biden, or the Biden administration rather, was dishonest. And that's it.
Question. Let me touch on the help President Biden part.
Hold on, where are we?
We're on page.
Where
It's
are
on.
we? I don't know what's going on. Oh! Sorry, I had to jump on that. Come on.
Question. Let me touch on the help President Biden
Hold
part.
on, where are we?
We're on page. It's on the screen. Page 11. Right below. We just got to the point where Morrell says I had two intents. One was to share a concern with the American people, and second was to help Vice President Biden. Next question.
I was reading from my own link.
Okay. Next question. Let me touch on that help Biden part in a second. In 2020, was the name of one of your Gmail accounts Michael Gmail New? Morrell says, I don't know. Okay.
You don't know?
Okay, I don't know. Question. What was your role in the creation of this statement? I think Michael Gmail knew. Okay, whatever. What was your role in the creation of the statement? Morrell, I organized it. So this is the guy who's testifying. I organized the statement and then had people sign it. Question.
Well, I mean, that was his intent.
So you drafted that? His response, I did not do the first draft. Question. Okay. Morrell says, Mark Polymeropoulos did the first draft. Then I redrafted it. Yeah, I'm the organizer, and I played a major role in drafting it. Question. Okay. I would like to enter the draft of the statement that Michael Morrell and Mark Polymeropoulos, whatever his name is, sent to potential signatories, including a request to sign the document dated October 19, 2020 at 1:38 a.m. as Exhibit 2. In other words, this is saying, here's the statement that Michael Morrell and this Mark guy sent to all of these people that signed it, including a request to sign it. That was on October 19, 2020. You acknowledge that's what this is saying.
Yeah, sure. But honestly, I read ahead
Yeah, sure, but let's hand wave it away because it doesn't help my argument.
and I got to the point that you were telling me
Okay.
to. Where he had said that,
Question, please. I'm going to read it for the audience. We're going to be very thorough here so that there's no question. Next question. Question. That email was sent from you, correct? Morrell says yes. Question. Michael Gmail New is, Morrell says yes. That's me. Question. Perfect. I just want to make sure it's redacted on one of the copies we have. Morrell says, yep. Okay, now the question. Now, I would just like to read. This is from the email that was sent by Morrell to the people that signed it. Mark.
We got the receipts.
Mark and I drafted the attached because we believe the Russians were involved in some way in the Hunter Biden email issue, and because we think Trump will attack Biden on the issue at this week's debate. And we want to give the vice president a talking point in response.
How did I remember that? But you're actively reading it.
You said Mark helped you draft the statement. He did the first draft. Correct. And we also have text between you and Mark that will enter. You asked.
Film looks so comfy in his little patio chair or deck chair, whatever it is.
So to create some background points. Yeah. And these texts you believe is great. You said, just wondering if the Russians, let's see. So we can see on this point what he just said there. That he acknowledges, we think we want to help Biden in the debate. We think that this is going to come up. You acknowledge that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, furthermore, page 28. And this was a matter of CIA policy, correct? He responds, it's a matter of secrecy agreement I signed when we first started for the CIA in 1980. It's a lifetime requirement. Question. And in this, you described it as a rush job, this document, to the officials at the CIA. Why? Why were you trying to get this out? Answer. We were trying to get it out before the debate. Question. Before the debate. Yes, ma'am. And okay, the debate was October 22nd, right? This is dated. Yeah, I don't know the date of the debate. You see, you're acknowledging now that this was done. Gates says, and the mechanism you specifically contemplated with a letter useful in winning the election was the upcoming presidential debate. Correct? Morrell says, yes, sir.
The irony of all this is if Devon had just taken the L on this, then he could have moved the conversation somewhere else where he knew what he was talking about. The debate is labeled Trump's character. So this is off on some tangent. But because he needs to be right in every single situation until it is undeniable that he has to read more. Not that he's wrong, but he has to read more. How do you operate like this? How do you operate like this?
He could not make it more clear. One, we have proof that Blinken reached out to him and said, hey, we want you to put this shit out and coordinate with this specific member of the media, which you have conceded the only possible explanation would be that Blinken wanted this to help Biden. Secondly, we have an admission from Morrell that his intent was to help Biden, in particular, rushing this out before the debate so that Biden could have a talking point in the debate. Will you acknowledge that my characterization of this was correct? That you, when I said that the circumstantial evidence pointed to these 51 officials wanting to help Biden, and that being the motivation for this, not only did the circumstantial evidence strongly suggest that, but this is definitive proof that the person that drafted this and was most responsible intended to do exactly that.
Well, I mean, he could perjure himself. You don't know, but
I'm not going to say definitive proof, but I would say,
oh my God. Oh my God. But you don't have an unreasonable evidentiary standard.
it's you have the strongest argument now because like you've shown.
And again, what is the difference between those two statements in the context of this debate? Oh, nerfing.
The closest thing to source material with a testimony, and I'm not going to not deny testimony. However, it's a very interesting. It's an interesting document, and I didn't know that this existed. So I'm probably going to read all of this real soon, and then
final,
look at more.
Okay, final point in this. You said.
All right, final point. I have some other stuff to show you guys if you want to keep the party raging, but of course we are heading to the after party after this. But you know how to keep the party raging.
I'm just going to steel man here. You said, well, it's not definitive because things could have happened since then. For example, he could have perjured himself. He could have came out and changed his statements. And so therefore you can't say this is definitive, correct?
Those were a list of things. There's probably other things that could make this, like that could contest this. What my
say yes, dude. He's giving you the avenue that, okay, it's not definitive, but it's strong, as you said. As you said, unless there is something stronger that comes out, there is nothing. There is nothing that can refute that.
What a better steel man would be is that you've given me very strong evidence, but I want to continue digging into it to get a holistic picture.
Right, because you know that this goes against your position, and if you were to accept that, then you have no principle. And so you're going to use the cop-out. Well, I'm going to read more and find some way to spin some bullshit about how, it was on stream. I hadn't seen it before, but now that I actually read it, it's this, that, and that. The leftist playbook.
Okay, but to be clear, I want to get a full list of things that could occur that would make you think that the testimony that you see before you doesn't prove what it claims to prove. So
no, I would like to get further information that either backs up what this says and that contests what this says, so I can cross-reference it myself and come to an independent conclusion.
So one of the things you said was he could have recanted, he could have perjured himself, etc. Correct?
Yeah, that's one of them. But
in other words,
there's probably more to.
Well, that would be two things.
Things could have occurred post this that would change your reflection on what this document says.
No. It wouldn't change what this document says. It would change.
Okay.
Is that what he said, or what you think about this document? Yeah, would change your reflection.
Things could have occurred post this that would change your reflection on what this document says.
Your reflection on what this document says, not the wording of the document.
No. It wouldn't change what this document says.
Nobody said that. Straw man.
It would change
Okay,
the validity of certain things that were said.
Would change the conclusion you're reaching based on what this document says.
No. What I'm saying is that it could either bolster what the document says, or it can invalidate some of what you.
That is the fucking question he asked you. Yes, then. Yes. There are things that could change the conclusion that we've just read. Yes, there are things that could it's like pulling teeth. It's like pulling teeth.
That it could either bolster what the document says, or it can invalidate some of what the document says. I'm not aiming
Rob, I feel for you, brother.
for one or
Is your
the.
current-
I'm not
is your-
aiming for. Hold on. I'm not aiming for one or the other. It's just that I like to get a holistic vision of everything, the same way that you like to get a holistic.
Yeah, you don't have a dog in this fight. You don't care either way that you just spent 2.5 hours arguing for this. But, if you're wrong, then, clearly you're the kind of person who's willing to, be humble and modest and admit that.
Vision, everything, because you artistically look at every little thing.
Is your current
He better have just said that I autistically look at every little thing and not that Rob was doing that. I'm not sure which one it is. But if he's going to say that Rob needs to look at everything in a what autistically whatever way, I am speechless. Let's see.
In the same way that you like to get holistic vision and everything, because you artistically look at every little thing.
At least he looks at them.
Is your current conclusion based on reading this testimony that until you're provided future evidence that would contradict it, that yes, Blinken did reach out to them, someone from Biden's team did reach out in order to have them craft something that would help them, and yes, they crafted this in order to help? Is that right now what you're assuming is the case?
Yeah, given everything that I have, I am 90, like a high 90% sure that that is the case, because
But I'm still going to argue because my ego won't let me be wrong.
that is
So-
what it said, and I don't have any information.
So then when I said, so you've reached a conclusion and future evidence, you could read stuff in the future that would change the conclusion you have reached based upon reading this evidence. You're acknowledging that, yes, that is what you're saying, that you could read something that came out, for example, yesterday. Maybe Morrell says, I was pressured to make that statement. They were going to arrest my child. Or maybe Blinken comes out and says, I've never met Morrell.
you
I
said
can prove
something
it.
a
This
little
is-
more. You had said something a little more loaded, which I took.
Oh my God, dude. He's giving an example. I don't understand. I don't understand, like, in those moments where he's saying, he's giving you credence to your argument that it is true that something could come out today that would show that the testimony we just read is not valid. Whoa, 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 whoa. I didn't say all of that. It's an example.
Like, I wish I could test it, which is why I wanted to clarify that I said
I didn't see that again.
my child, for example, you're acknowledging that, yes, that is what you're saying, that you could read something that came out, for example, yesterday. Maybe Morrell says, I was pressured to make that statement.
Maybe I was pressured to make that statement, and let's end it there. Maybe I was pressured to make that statement. Or maybe Morrell says, I was pressured to make that statement. That would invalidate everything we just read, which would make you more right. But you can't even, you can't take the L. He can't even take the dub. Take the dub, bro.
They were going to arrest my child. Or maybe Blinken comes out and says, I've never met Morrell.
you
I
said
can prove
something
it.
a
This
little
is-
more. You had said something a little more loaded, which I took. Like, I wish I could test it, which is why I wanted to clarify that I said I could find information that either supports this document or that invalidates the document.
Right. So that would be exactly what he just asked you. Again, what is the fucking liberal mind virus that prevents you from just agreeing with basic facts that somebody says because they voted differently than you? I don't get it. I don't get it.
However, it's on me to be able to look at more information so I have a holistic view, which
Which you didn't do before you entered this debate.
isn't a bad thing at all.
Do you do the same things when it comes to scandals involving Donald Trump?
Yes, actually, like
I don't
because I
believe
don't
it.
like.
Come on, man.
There you go, man. You don't have to believe me,
I
but
can
I
prove
literally
You just said that you wanted to bring up January 6th. You just said that. And as somebody who knows, at least vaguely, your position on that, no, this is not the level of skepticism that you have for January 6th.
I can prove that
you
you're
can't
wrong.
prove. No, you can't prove it. What? Okay, prove
You
it.
wanna- What?
Yeah, go ahead.
You came on, and the first thing you talked about with Trump was his memo about Chris Krebs, correct?
Yes.
That was very troubling to you. In fact, that's so troubling that when we're talking about Trump's character flaws, that's the very first outcome that you talked about that resulted from his character flaws.
Uh-oh.
Yes, that was one of them. Yes.
No, now you're answering questions, right?
Yet you didn't do the bare minimum research to even know who Chris Krebs was or what department he headed.
No,
Why?
I did, and I think I remember earlier when you had asked me that I had forgotten.
No, I actually did know. I just forgot for a second. And then after you told me, I remembered that I knew all of that. Okay, bro.
Exactly what he headed. I didn't remember the exact name, but it was this. Regardless of that fact, we didn't even actually get into my contention with what you said about that because we went down a rabbit hole.
No. You fucking stopped the entire debate to make sure you could read a single document after other documents and other releases that already had enough legitimacy to at least move the conversation forward. You are grasping for straws, and you failed. And now you have run out of straws to even pretend to grasp through. And now you're pretending that you remembered a thing that you clearly did not know.
Yes, he worked for system, but I still think that targeting him with an investigation isn't justified.
Why would you know that? How do you know what more evidence is out there? Have you
What more
read
evidence is out there for
transcripts
what?
from testimony? Have you?
Hold on, what more evidence is out there for what?
How do you know?
I'm asking you what you're asking me. What more evidence is out there for what?
I'm saying that it's entirely possible that Chris Krebs committed crimes, that there is testimony behind the scenes that you haven't seen that Chris Krebs has committed crimes, that new evidence could have broke since the last time you read about Chris Krebs. You didn't even know when I asked you who Chris Krebs worked for previously, what his role was. You seem to have very little details on it. And yet you were comfortable drawing a conclusion that you thought was the most important thing to lead with that showed the flaws of Donald Trump.
Hold on.
Did that not happen? I mean, we could roll it back. I mean, I skipped ahead because it was number one kind of rehashing the Raging Tomato panel, and then they got into this. But we can run it back, bro. We can run it back.
Let me finish my point.
Okay, but I gotta answer one of your
What I'm saying is,
bro.
it is clear that your standard for proof is massively different when it comes to things that you think suggest that we should be critical of Trump, rather than when it suggests, even when we have direct testimony from the guy who drafted the memo, from these 51 former intel officials, even when he says my intent was to help Joe Biden, you're like, yeah, it seems like that's the case, but I need to read more about it. But you didn't do that with the Chris Krebs shit. You didn't say, actually, it might not be corrupt at all. I don't know. I'll need to read more evidence. You said, nope, it suggests corruption from Donald Trump and a flaw in his character.
Yup.
Okay, can I answer that with 500 sentences too?
Whatever you feel is necessary.
Oh, that is the what is the slang for like an anti-flex? You just said so much things by recapping in what that was 2 sentences.
I need to read more about it, but you didn't do that with the Chris Krebs direct point.
Okay, but I gotta answer one of your 5
What I'm saying is,
questions,
it is clear.
Okay, so what I'm saying
that
is
your standard for proof is massively
the standard for proof is different from for Biden and for Trump.
different when it comes to things that you think suggest that we should be critical of Trump, rather than when it suggests, even when we have direct testimony from the guy who drafted the memo.
So you have a different standard, even when we have direct testimony. That's the position that Rob is putting forth so far.
From these 51 former intel officials, even when he says my intent was to help Joe Biden, you're like, yeah, it seems like that's the case, but I need to read more about it. But you didn't do that with the Chris Krebs shit. You didn't say, actually, it might not be corrupt at all. I don't know. I'll need to read more evidence.
Right. So in this situation, when it goes against Biden, I need to read more. But when I thought that it helped go against Trump, I didn't need to read more. That's one thing. That's one thing.
You said, nope, it suggests corruption from Donald Trump and a flaw in his character.
That is one statement. That is, or one conclusion, if we want to be more specific. One position. Whoa, there's so many things.
Okay, can I answer that with 500 sentences too?
Whatever you feel is necessary.
Stupid. Okay. Me being 90% certain of something you just showed me is a high bar. So pretending as if I'm just downplaying is like, I'm
Nobody's pretending anything. You are downplaying it. If you were not downplaying it and you simply were saying, okay, I'm 90% there, but I mean, I just need to see if there's anything else, then what you would do is concede that all that's there points to Rob's argument. Then separately, you say, I'm going to look more into it. But you're still trying to find wiggle room. Why am I not focused? It's a beautiful face. You're still trying to find wiggle room to where you're not wrong. That's all that matters. As long as I'm not wrong, I'm good.
certain, but I need 90% is a high bar. My information can change at any moment, even with a Chris Krebs situation.
Your information can change at any moment, or your opinion can change at any moment? Because usually the information stays the same. There might be more of it that changes the situation.
High bar. My information can change at any moment, even with the Chris Krebs situation. But the way that I present what I believe now is going to be based on what I have. What you just showed me led me to a 90% belief. So if I'm talking about this situation, I'm going to lead in a conversation about it with that 90% belief. I'm never 100% certain about everything.
Okay, so then even saying that I'm not 100% certain means that 90 is an even higher bar, because 90%, if you're never getting to 100%, then we are now having a percentage of a percentage. So 90% on a scale that's 0 to 99. You're just saying things. This doesn't mean anything.
I brought up the Chris Krebs thing to talk about it. I didn't say this was definitively the case. The actual conclusions that I reached and the reason why I thought that it was unnecessary was because the memo specifically mentioned that he was targeting him for denying that the election was rigged. That was one of the specific statements that was in the memo. That enough is for me.
That enough?
Me, in my opinion.
That is enough, you mean?
To say that's unjust. That's one of the reasons you're going after him.
For the record, the reason we went down this rabbit hole was it was a surface level of like showing the double standard and how these things occurred. It came from a conversation with Chris Krebs and censorship of the Hunter Biden laptop story. But you wanted to
really quick, TV, if you're still, TV. Well, I don't know your last chat. I don't know if you're still here, but I'm also a drummer. How long have you been playing drums?
talk more about, you even said specifically, I want to talk about Krebs. I want to talk about the 51 former officials. So I've definitively proved my case about the officials. But when you say we're going down these rabbit holes, it wasn't me that took us there. It was you. You're the one who didn't want to talk about Krebs anymore. You wanted to talk about these officials. I proved my case. I'll give you the final word.
That's not true. When you say that,
it is, though. We just watched it. That's what happened.
The reason why we go down those rabbit holes is because of the thing. We started out at the Chris Krebs thing, and then you brought us down to all these rabbit holes, and I said, let's talk about specifically one of those, and I chose the Intel thing. I wanted to talk about Chris Krebs, but you brought up 500 different things stemming from that, and I said,
yeah, all relevant things that you didn't know.
That, okay, let's slow down and choose one of these things. So pretending that I'm the one that brought us down those rabbit holes when you ranted and got us down those rabbit holes is way more bad faith than anything I've done in this conversation.
You're questioning his position, and him giving proof of that position is not bad faith. I'm starting to think that Devon does not even know what bad faith means. How dare you bring receipts when I said you were wrong about a thing that you said? How dare you? This is a debate. We don't do that here. That's bad faith.
My bestie, though.
No. All right, we'll see.
And there we go. Shout out to all of these donations, guys. Morty really, really appreciated it. And of course, you know what time it is. It is time to get swole. All right. So we're at $50, so that's 25 push-ups. I'm pretty confident I can do 25. If you can't do 25, do 20. If you can't do 20, do 10. Either way, pay yourselves. Guys, this is how we get swole. This is how we get swole. Let's do it. Pay yourselves, guys. Pay yourselves. You got this. 25. Here we go. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, Let's fucking go. Good job, guys. Thank you. Thank you. Soon enough, I'll have my own triceps. Maybe. Guys, thank you so very, 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 very much. You guys are amazing. I really, really, really do appreciate it. I know that, you got other shit going on in your life. You've got bills. You might have kids. You got other shit going on. But for you to part with your hard-earned money, for me and for Morty, it really, really, really means the world. Thank you so very, very much. It is time for the after party. Guys, if you want to come through, just hit the link. As soon as we, and I'll see you join, and you get to come hang out with us. Thank you so very, very much for hanging out with us once again, guys. Shit. This is Morty, and I have been your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Until next time, guys, we are out of here. Peace.